is beyond laughable.
Adam Curry, John C. Dvorak.
It's Thursday, June 11th, 2020. This is your award-winning Gimmo Nation Media Assassination, episode 1245.
This is No Agenda.
Asymptomatic and broadcasting live from Opportunity Zone 33 here at the frontier of Austin, Texas, capital of the Drone Star State. In the morning, everybody. I'm Adam Curry.
And from northern Silicon Valley, where we missed the Zephyr, which seemed to not only be on time, but 30 seconds early. I'm John C. Dvorak.
It's Crackpot and Buzzkill in the morning.
Well, then the most important question is, how many cars did the Zephyr have?
I can't tell you.
Oh,
I walked in the room with some water, and I saw the Zephyr going by, and I missed the key car, the car that I started the count with.
Well, luckily, you did this on Thursday, and there's only a day and a half left of trading. I mean, the markets will be confused. If we can't give them the Zephyr economic car indicator, then this is trouble.
Well, I feel bad about it.
No, it's okay. I mean, it happens. It's not our job per se.
Well, it seems like it is.
Yeah. Well, the week started off fantastically.
How does this work?
Well, we had great news from the WHO. I was super excited.
Oh, you mean the news that they said they did get some pushback from the Democrats and they had to go back against the news and back off on it? That news?
Well, it went a little differently, but I do have the sequence, and this is the news that made me happy. Maria van Kerkhove of the WHO during their regularly scheduled conference call with Dr. Tedros. It's a little presser, and they give all the latest details, and health professionals call in, and well, here's what she said.
The second part of your question is what proportion of asymptomatic individuals actually transmit. So the way that we look at that is we look at these individuals need to be followed carefully over the course of when they're detected and looking at secondary transmission. We have a number of reports from countries who are doing very detailed contact tracing. They're following asymptomatic cases, they're following contacts, and they're not finding secondary transmission onward. It's very rare.
Very rare.
And that much of that is not published in the literature.
It's new.
From the papers that are published, there's one that came out from Singapore. Looking at a long-term care facility. There are some household transmission studies where you follow individuals over time and you look at the proportion of those that transmit onwards. It still appears to be rare that an asymptomatic individual actually transmits onward.
Rare.
What we really want to be focused on is following the symptomatic cases. But from the data we have, it still seems to be rare that an asymptomatic person actually transmits onward to a secondary individual.
So,
yay!
Well, that's what I thought. I was super happy. And of course, if you listen to what she says, a couple of things. She says there are a few studies, published papers. It's very rare that people who are asymptomatic pass on the coronavirus to other people. And she said they found this out by doing contact tracing. And this, of course, the contact tracing is the next step.
Ooh, it backfired.
It's the next step in someone's in one agenda, one of the many, because we're going to find out about everybody and who they're hanging out with. And this is a fabulous network that you can put into a database. And it's just great. It's great for all kinds of things. So we cannot have that. We can't have people thinking that they can just stop wearing a mask. We can't have that. We can't have a contact tracing show that this is happening. So the guy who has not been in a briefing for weeks pops up on Good Morning America. Of course, we've got to bring in the big gun, Dr. Fauci himself, to reject this claim from the World Health Organization, the same organization he has touted for months as the authority.
And the WHO said something recently, suggested that asymptomatic spread is rare, and they then walked it back.
They walked it back. Now, this is not a scientific correction, retracted papers. No, the WHO walked it back. This is the authority.
You have a clip of them walking it back?
Of course, I've got a clip of that, but first we have to listen to Fauci.
It is rare, and they then walked it back just a little bit. So can you clarify that for us?
What happened the other day is that a member of the WHO was saying that transmission.
Now, mind you, a member of the WHO. You mean one of the women who has been there for months giving us the information we have been told to believe? That's the member you're speaking of? Maria Kerkhoven, whose Dutch name translates to churchyard?
Was saying that transmission from an asymptomatic person to an uninfected person was very rare. They walked that back because there's no evidence.
Again, Fauci, unscientifically, they walked that back. I can hear the meeting now. Holy crap, did you hear what those a-holes did? Call them now, tell them to walk it back. They just forgot to use a different term once they did it.
They walked that back because there's no evidence to indicate that's the case. And in fact, the evidence that we have, given the percentage of people, which is about 45% of the totality of infected people, likely are without symptoms. And we know from epidemiological studies that they can transmit to someone who is uninfected, even when they're without symptoms. So to make a statement.
Kissing.
Hold on. Listen. You gotta. It's important that we listen.
Okay, I'm going to make sure to listen to this guy.
So to make a statement to say that's a rare event was not correct. And that's the reason why the WHO walked that back.
So he's saying that there's no evidence. He's saying that this statement was incorrect. He just obliterated that. And what do you think? What is his name? Is her name Robin? Robin Wright? Is that who it is from Good Morning America?
It could be.
What do you think what do you think she does? A follow-up question?
Oh, she nails him to the cross.
Yeah, let's just check the end again.
WHO walked that back.
And Dr. Fauci, in hearing all of this, how does that, people are wondering about schools reopening.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Well, she nailed him on that, all right. Tell me about schools reopening. Now let's listen to the actual retraction the WHO gave. Not quite the same that there's no evidence. And this confident Maria, now she looks like a deer caught in the headlights.
So there were quite a lot of messages that I received overnight, and that was
hey, it's Fauci, walk that back.
We received about making some clarifications to some points that I made yesterday at the press conference. So I think it's important just to if I can briefly cover perhaps some of the misunderstandings from what I said yesterday.
Oh, John, did you misunderstand what she said? Did she or did she not say there were papers published that showed asymptomatic spread was rare? That's what I heard.
Seems that she was very clear.
And she used the word rare at least 2 times, I think 3 times. So.
Yeah, well, not as many times as Fauci used the word walk back.
So I think what's important related to transmission is what we know, importantly, what we don't know, and what we're trying to do to really understand this very complex question.
Okay.
There are some estimates that suggest that anywhere between 6% of the population and 41% of the population may be infected but not have symptoms, within a point estimate of around 16%.
Hold on. She says the range of known infections is between 6% and 41% with a 16-point error margin. That's not knowing anything. Statistically, that doesn't seem like you know anything. But okay.
Actually, there's a term for it. Statistically. Spitballing.
That's nice. She's spitballing. Exactly.
Within a point estimate of around 16%. I don't want to get too technical.
Oh, please don't pay attention.
Well,
I don't want to get too technical. I mean, you might be able to figure out I'm about to be spitballing.
But that we do know that some people who are asymptomatic or some people who don't have symptoms can transmit the virus on. And so what I was referring to yesterday in the press conference were a very few studies, some 2 or 3 studies that have been published that actually try to follow asymptomatic cases, so people who are infected over time, and then look at all of their contacts and see how many additional people were infected. And that's a very small subset of studies. And in that, I use the phrase very rare. And I think that that's misunderstanding to state that asymptomatic transmission globally is very rare. What I was referring to was a subset of studies.
I only have a small bit of studies. However, if we take a study that is against hydroxychloroquine that only looks at 40 patients, then it's accepted and, stop administering that. You're being lied to. This whole thing is bullcrap. The whole thing is 100% crap. Yeah, there's a virus, but the lockdown was a lie. A lie, I tell you, from these people. And, if the Curry-Dvorak Consulting Group were brought into this, I would recommend to the president, and maybe he's thinking of this, the following. He's got to go on prime time and say, ladies and gentlemen, I can't do his voice, but this is how it would supposed to sound. I was hoodwinked, and with me, the American people and perhaps the world, by the experts. I was told to believe them. We all believe them around the world. Fauci, Birx, CDC, WHO, all lied to you. And whether you reelect me or not, I tell you I will drain the swamp. Because Boris Johnson is now apologizing himself. Except he's not doing it right. He's saying, well, this is what I was advised. I
would say that of all the voices you do, that's the worst ever.
I'm trying to do Boris and his dumb. I was advised this. I had nothing else to do but just advised it. So it's crap. The whole lockdown situation is just a lie.
It was designed to bring down the economy. Hello.
And the check mark recovery, everyone was in on it. The stock market, we'll figure that out. Just shift some money to online businesses. Yeah, it's all right. Down, just sell now. Wait until it goes down, buy at the bottom. And everyone made out like bandits. Bandits.
Yeah, there's a lot of banditry going on. Oh,
my goodness. But this just tells you that it's just a lie. They've not told us the truth. And of course, vaccines. Now listen to, he's actually walking back his vaccine story a little bit. Now he's promised, the vaccine's coming. It's coming. Now here he is with on Good Morning America talking about the vaccine.
Vaccine. Either by the end of this calendar year or in the first few months of 2021. So that's the thing that makes me feel confident that the process is really on track. And that's good news. Again, in the context of never being able to guarantee success, things are clearly going in the right direction.
That's very promising indeed. And once there is a vaccine...
This is her follow-up. That's very promising. Let me just tell you a little something about interviewing people. When you either weren't listening to the person you were interviewing or you have no idea what they were saying, you just say something like what this journalist just did. Robin.
Journalist. She's a show host.
Of never being able to guarantee success.
So he's now saying, we never can guarantee success. It's not guaranteed. And she's like,
of never being able to guarantee success, things are clearly going in the right direction.
That's very promising.
It's very promising.
How is that promising?
It's not promising.
That's not promising.
It's the definition of not promising.
Promising indeed. And once there is a vaccine...
Go back to sports, Robin.
How often do you think we would need it? Would it be like getting the flu shot every year?
Now this is a very good question.
That is a good question.
Will we need it? Now, she doesn't know why she's asking the question.
Let's put on a piece of paper. That's why.
So does that mean, does coronavirus, will it change every year just like the flu? That's the question, but she doesn't know she's asking it. Let's find out.
We don't know that right now. We're going to take it one step at a time.
Promising.
The first thing we want to do is to determine if it's safe and if it protects. How long that protection lasts. We're going to have to obviously observe that. And that's the reason why when you make a vaccine, it isn't the end of the game. You have to keep following and see how long the duration of the protection is. We hope it's substantial. But if it isn't, you could always give a boost. So right now, step one, let's just prove that it's safe and effective. And then we'll go on from there.
Oh, okay. To me, a vaccine, you get one. And the minute they start with the boosters, I'm like, I don't think that's as great as you're telling me it is. We have to have boosters every year. No, I don't like it. It doesn't matter because all of this is just good news where we are today. As Neil Ferguson, the man of the IMHE 2 million dead model who walked it back and then walked his naked ass to his girlfriend who was cheating on her husband during the so-called lockup. He says, I was right. I was right.
The epidemic was doubling every 3 to 4 days before lockdown interventions were introduced. So had we introduced lockdown measures a week earlier, we would have reduced the final death toll by at least a half. So whilst I think the measures, given what we know about this virus then, in terms of its transmission and its lethality, were warranted, I wouldn't second guess them at this point. Certainly, had we introduced them earlier, we would have seen many fewer deaths.
Very, very animated young man he is. So, yeah, hey, I was right. Go ahead and prove me wrong. It's always great to say, if we hadn't done it, there'd be more people dead. Go ahead and prove me wrong. Thanks. Yeah, Mr. Science, we'll go try and prove a negative. So what is going on with this data? What is happening with all that? I'm almost done with this. Alex Berenson wrote a book, which I think is one of the bestsellers now, really about the data. It's, COVID-19, the data, the models, and it's a very kind of, he wrote it, in kind of like the way we've explained how these things work, but only used published data. And he was on Adam Carolla's show talking about it and what is happening to our journalism.
Math, right? So, okay. So people in the media, a lot of them are not very good at math, and they're very prone to groupthink, as the cannabis thing taught me. But there's something even worse than that, right? And people call it Trump derangement syndrome. I don't like to call it that, because that, to me, suggests there aren't good reasons to be mad at Trump. I call it orange man bad, right? Because that puts you in on the joke a little bit, right? That, Donald Trump does have lots of issues, but there's orange man bad syndrome going on. And Donald Trump got blamed for this early on. And, the government didn't prepare, right? He shut the borders, but then the government didn't really prepare in February and early March, and then it panicked. But what people realized in the media, consciously or not, was they could beat him up with this. They could beat him over the head with it, because his normal style is to bluster and to bluff and to mock people. And that does not work when you have these death counts every day.
Right.
So they realized they could embarrass him, and they have been doing it nonstop ever since. But the flip side of embarrassing him means you have to constantly talk about how terrible this is.
Right.
And there's one last irony here, Adam. If this were really terrible, okay, if this thing were really the Spanish flu or worse, this were like, forget the stand, but let's say it was killing 10% of Americans, we would have to take it.
I like that he listens to our show. Orange man bad. And we are now 2 weeks and 2 days since the peaceful protests began. We saw everyone out there without masks, touching, all kinds of stuff going on. By now, we should have people in the intensive care units dying en masse, big groups of them. I don't see it. However,
you must be seeing it, Adam. You're in Texas.
NBC sees it, but doesn't see it for what it is. They say there's an uptick, a surge. I'm confused.
Surge.
Troubling new signs tonight about coronavirus in some areas that reopened early. Hospitalizations are way up, a more serious indicator than the number of cases. And today, Dr. Anthony Fauci called COVID-19 his worst nightmare, saying it's not over yet.
Oh, it's the states that opened up early. Okay, that's the problem. Not the people out there rioting and peacefully protesting. And I do not believe this is true. I really don't.
I have that same report. I agree with you. The people, Democracy Now! Is playing that up too. But before we get too far away from your first clips, you're already abandoning.
No, I didn't abandon them.
You're bailing out.
Keeping the flow going.
I have a Kaylee. Out of context, I'm going to pull a Kaylee clip because I have a Kaylee special today.
Ooh, well, it's what I love about this show? Without ever speaking to each other, we have this magic that works between you, myself, and our producers. And so when you say you have, a Kaylee what? A Kaylee special?
A Kaylee special.
Kaylee, you will never say you're
One more time.
Kaylee, John C. is trying to write you a love song. Kaylee's been in love with you from day one. Kaylee, you can prove that Trump was right, or you can prove M5M was wrong.
John Lucas, you're a master.
So I have the Kaylee special for later. Maybe
I thought it wasn't. And let's just say, if we wanted to produce that and this show was run like a traditional M5M show, what do you think? 5 weeks, has to run past legal. We have we're all kind. We have to find the right production team.
Has it gone through legal?
We have to audition singers. No,
we just get it.
Value for value. Thank you, John Lucas.
So Ferguson coming back and saying he was right.
Yeah,
brings me to this, because there's no reason not to take advantage of the situation, and so we're going to have this clip, which is the Trump administration taking advantage of this, and this is Kaylee pulls an Obama.
Also, I wanted to take us through a few other things relating to the coronavirus. First, the coronavirus task force briefing was held yesterday. I was in it, and there was some very good news that I'd like to share with you. I don't know if you all saw, there were 2 studies that came out, very strong studies in the journal Nature. And in Europe, which had a very similar epidemic profile to the United States, 3.1 million lives were saved due to mitigation and the efforts taken by the European governments. And as Dr. Birx noted to me, she sent this to me just before I walked out here, she said it suggests that the United States also prevented over 3 million deaths, thanks to the efforts of President Trump and the American people. Another study found that the shutdown efforts prevented 50 million additional coronavirus cases. So those are 2 very encouraging studies underscoring the work of the American people.
Now, not everyone will understand why this is so funny if they're kind of new to the show. After the 2008 Great Recession, Obama's metric was jobs saved or created. They didn't know which one it was, but it was something to look at. And it was millions of jobs saved or created. And we determined it was just kind of a made-up thing.
It's bullcrap.
And I'm looking for, I can't find any clips that contain saved or created. I mean, we laughed about it.
They were all mixed in. We must have had about 50 clips that
That's why I find it odd that, well, it's also from the very beginning. I may not have all that archive complete.
But this bit, when I heard it.
Saved or created.
It's saved or created. It's the same scam that Obama pulled. And nobody's calling him on it.
Well, no, it's Kaylee. Hello.
Yeah, right, to get their butt handed to them, as we'll see in the later Kaylee special, where she, I got her formula. I'm getting her formula down. When we hear the clips in the next, it'll be the second after the first break. You'll start to see the formula she uses for slamming these guys. It's pretty funny. Anyway, so yeah, I thought the saved or created is exactly what we're looking at here. And they open the door for it and Ferguson doesn't help by coming back and taking a victory lap, spiking the ball.
It doesn't help at all. There's one other thing I just wanted to read. We just came in. It's from a medical is MedPage Today, which is a lot of doctors subscribe to the newsletter, and it's a medical website, and they have a story here about the administrator of the Saugus Rehab and Nursing Centers in Saugus, Massachusetts, who had heard that a new Medicare website, you could find all the data of the cases and deaths reported from nursing homes. So she went to take a look, and her facility had 794 confirmed cases of COVID-19, the second highest in the country, and 281 cases among the staff. And this is the CDC's National Healthcare Safety Network, which operates under new rules from the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services. It's called CMS. Well, her 80-bed facility only reported 45 residents to have tested positive, and 5 residents died. It's impossible. These numbers are inflated by a factor of 10. So she started looking around and talking to people, And there's nursing home after nursing home that has numbers that are inflated by, seriously, a factor 10. MedPage today first learned of the inaccuracies shortly after publishing an article on Friday on the new public database. And that article was a list, which has since been removed, of outliers. Those with the highest numbers of cases and deaths among residents and staff included Delridge Health and Rehabilitation Center in Paramus, New Jersey. The CMS data indicated it had the most COVID-19 deaths of any nursing home in the country, 753 COVID-19 deaths. That number is insanely wrong, Jonathan McCauley, Delridge's marketing director, wrote in a frantic email. We are a 90-bed center, and we have had less than 20 deaths. How do you report such inaccurate numbers? Well, I think we all know the answer why, don't we? Because this was a scam. And these are the numbers that go into
Medicare fraud, by the way. Let's add that to the list.
Well, that's the whole point. They're all these. Now, I'm not pointing the finger at anybody. Either administrators at the nursing homes are like, hey, this is our moment because they're going to make us do all this stuff. We got to have all kinds of money or whatever it is. Or it's someone in between them at Medicare jacking up the numbers for other reasons internally. Either way, data's disqualified. It's disqualified. Take off your mask, people. Go out. It was a joke. I mean, this
that's distressing.
I didn't hear this one. No, this just came in from one of our producers.
This is outrageous.
The nursing care.
Take it off of YouTube.
The nursing care industry is now saying, "Oh crap, we're going to get blamed. We're going to get blamed."
Well, the other thing is, the hospitals are
they're probably doing the same thing. They have the same issue.
Let's back up. Let's back up to the early. All the reports they show them on NBC, ABC, CBS. They're backed up. They're slammed. And, of course, they're showing on videos. You watch YouTube, you have a bunch of doctors and nurses dancing in the halls, but it's beside the point. Slam, slam, slam. And then the next day, a number of people went out with their own cameras after the reporting was over and took pictures and went through the hospitals and went inside. There was nobody in there.
Take it off YouTube.
Take it off YouTube.
That's exactly what happened. And, is the virus real? Yeah, it appears to be real. They seem to be able to detect.
Things happen.
They seem to be able to detect it. But
this is going to unravel before the election.
It better. It better, because this is an outrage, and people are being silenced over this.
It won't last because there's too much of it. You can't overdo a scam.
Unless you have anything else, I'd like to move it right to my next conclusion of the week. Unless you have more on COVID.
Well, let's see. Do I? I think I got my good one out of the way.
The good one?
I just have we could do the Democracy Now! Or is this Democracy Now! I think so. The COVID deaths update. So, the breathless deaths update.
Which we now know is probably bogus.
Coronavirus cases.
Let's play this.
Yeah, bogative, exactly.
Coronavirus cases are continuing to soar across the United States as the death toll tops 112,000. The
Give or take.
Washington Post reports.
What if everything was times 10 and we're really only at 10,000?
It makes sense.
I mean, that makes a lot more sense to me too.
Coronavirus cases are continuing.
I'm sorry.
I'm going to say I have a times 10 report later in the show about something else.
Excellent.
Coronavirus cases are continuing to soar across the United States as the death toll tops 112,000. The Washington Post reports COVID-19 hospitalizations are increasing in at least 9 states following the reopening of businesses. Texas, North and South Carolina, California, Oregon, Arkansas, Mississippi, Utah, and Arizona are all seeing a surge in patients needing medical attention. Texas has seen 2 consecutive days of record coronavirus hospitalizations. On Tuesday, the nation's top infectious disease doctor, Anthony Fauci, described coronavirus as his, quote, worst nightmare and said the pandemic is not close to over yet. The Institute for Health Metrics and Evaluation has revised its projected U.S. death toll upwards, predicting 145,000 deaths by early August.
Models and data, it cannot be trusted. It cannot be trusted, and
except with global warming, there it can't be trusted.
Don't worry, that's coming back. So something interesting happened again. It was just a crazy week. On Sunday, we talked about Sesame Street and what they were teaching the kids about racism, and I took exception to their definition of racism. This is a clip from Sunday's show. It may sound eerily like we're talking now, but it's a clip from Sunday's show. I should probably do a sound effect. I should do this. This will make it more clear.
Racism? What's that?
Oh, racism is when people treat other people unfairly because of the way they look or the color of their skin.
That is not, I'm sorry, not the definition of racism. The definition
they are freaked out.
The definition of racism: prejudice, discrimination, or antagonism directed against someone of a different race based on the belief that one's own race is superior. It is not what was just said here. That is not, and so you're teaching children incorrect things.
Yeah.
The color of their skin?
Well, that didn't take very long, and all it took was one Noodle girl from Missouri.
As hundreds of thousands march for justice across the country and in St. Louis, one recent college grad is using her voice in a different way.
With everything going on, I think it's really important that everyone is on the same page.
The same page of the dictionary, that is. Kennedy Meacham, a recent college graduate studying law, politics, and society, said the issue stemmed after people would quote the verbatim definition of racism.
A couple weeks ago, I was like, okay, this is the last argument I'm going to have about this. Like, I know what racism is. I've experienced it. So I emailed them. I basically told them that they need to include that there's a systematic oppression upon a group of people. It's not just, oh, I don't like someone.
After back and forth emails, the editor of Merriam-Webster agreed, saying a revision to the entry of racism is now being drafted.
The reason the definition of racism in the dictionary isn't adequate is because it suggests that racism is just a passive kind of concept, whereas racism in actuality is a passive belief, but it also causes horrendous actions toward people who don't look like you.
Dr. Charlene Jones teaches political science at Harris-Stowe State University. She said from her students to people like Kennedy, the young generation will make this movement different.
Now, I'm not exactly sure what the lady from Merriam-Webster was saying about what change we can expect. Could you turn your speakers down just a little bit? It's just slapping back. So I'm not sure what exactly she meant, but all it took was one email from a Noodle kid in Missouri, and now they're changing a definition that, as far as I know, has been around for quite a long time. That is something new. This is a change, and I'm identifying it. And for people who are new to the show, I would like to revisit the Noodle Boy, because the Noodle Boy has grown since this clip first came into our possession. Was this Seattle? The Noodle Boy clip? I always forget.
I don't remember where the Noodle Boy was.
I think it was in Oregon, or maybe it was Seattle.
It sounds like a Seattle guy.
So he works at Noodles, which is the Noodle. Is it Noodles or Noodle Factory? Whatever it is.
I don't remember. I don't know.
And now we're going back maybe 8, 9, 10 years with this clip. It's
10 years at least.
10 years. And we were laughing about him because these kids seemed like they were off their rockers. Like, hey, man, this is not fair. We got to have a say. It's capital.
They've taken over Seattle. Yeah.
Well, like I described earlier, there are two fundamental classes that are just a plain fact in society. You either work for someone else or you work for yourself. And most people work for someone else in a way that they aren't free. You don't really get to decide your work. For example, I work at Noodles, a restaurant, and basically it's a dictatorship there. We're told exactly what we're going to cook, how we're going to cook it, what time we're going to get there, and basically if they don't like what they're doing, they try to tell us what to do. If we don't listen, they get rid of us. And so we're not able to actually cooperate in a way that we make decisions together. I try to convince my fellow employees that we should have a union at Noodle, so it's a source of power to start with. And then I think in terms of the bigger picture, when you look at revolutions, the way that you actually get rid of any sort of dictatorship is by having workers take control of the place where they work.
Would your plan, your vision for Noodles, would it include the owner? What capacity would he be granted?
If the owner wanted to cooperate with us as an equal and provide his skills that he had, we would definitely cooperate with him. We'd have to abdicate his position as being an owner and controller of us, and he would have to recognize that we run Noodles together, and basically, if he doesn't want to cooperate with us, he's against us.
Well, we laughed. We referred back to Noodle Boy many times.
Constantly.
We got Gamergate and social justice warriors. And, of course, we saw some things. What entered the fray really was social media and Twitter. And it was fun. We could call people out and make trouble for them. And then a couple of these Noodle kids, they figured out that you could probably shame advertisers into doing certain things. And if you can shame advertisers, well, maybe we can... well, they didn't work too well on public people. That's really how it started, trying to cancel. It's a cancel culture, trying to cancel people. And it's always fun to take, some kind of media property or media personality. So as we move forward in time from the Noodle Boy, as Noodle boys and girls, they've evolved, and they've figured out they have a weapon.
No. They didn't evolve. They got older.
Social media came into the fray, and I see Noodle Boy now having what I'm going to call a noodle gun. Not quite sure how... Noodlegun.com, by the way, is registered to us. Not quite knowing how to use it yet, but when they figure it out, when their aim is true and they're loaded, it's getting pretty good. Some simple things. Now, again, this is just target practice.
These demands for racial justice are not going unheard. Tonight, we're witnessing a number of cultural shifts many say are a long time coming. With that, here's Blaine Alexander.
It's an American movie classic. Known for its swirling score and unforgettable cast.
Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
But now, Gone with the Wind is temporarily gone from streaming service HBO Max. The film, set in Georgia during the Civil War, has been criticized for romanticizing slavery. HBO says the film will return to service with a discussion of its historical context and a denouncement of those very depictions.
All right, so you get the idea on Gone with the Wind, but it's not just Gone with the Wind. Let's cancel some more stuff. Another Noodle shot.
In the wake of all of the protests following the death of George Floyd, the Paramount Network is now canceling Cops after 33 seasons on the air. That's a long time.
Yeah.
A&E also pulling Live PD from its schedule.
Okay, so let's just look at a quick little rundown. The CrossFit CEO. CEOs are now being targeted. This is where it's getting interesting. Now, CrossFit,
I love it.
CrossFit is vulnerable. I looked at their business model, and the way they work is anyone can become a CrossFit gym. You pay $3,000 a year in fees, and every instructor has to be certified by CrossFit, and it's $1,000, and that's it. But there's no turf protection, so someone could open a CrossFit right next to you in the garage next door. Gyms have expanded and added this. So when the CEO tweeted Floyd 19, that's all he did. He tweeted Floyd 19. Immediately, the Noodle gun came out, and it got so bad that gym. It's not that hard for a gym to just say, "Fuck, I'm going to cancel." They can always re-sign. It's like, the contract's not exclusive. Then they started to cancel. They only have 15,000, so this guy had to resign. That's how bad it was. Now, the New York Times was very clear with boycott your own relatives until they get woke. Don't donate money to black groups and tell them you won't text or call them until they do. Let's see what else is happening. Elmer Fudd in the new Looney Tunes no longer has his rifle at church.
No.
Now, this was interesting.
Catch and release.
A church let me just tell you where this is. one of the parishioners of the Church of the Highlands I'm not sure where this is so quickly, liked a tweet. And I don't even have to get into what the tweet was. They lost their lease at the high school. $1 million to the high school, by the way, annually. No, you can't have you here. Noodle shot, noodle gun. Once again, it hits. We have, let's see, Little Britain in the UK has been removed from Netflix. It's a parody, a comedy. It's very, very successful. When I was there, which is not that long ago, it was number one. People loved it. No, has to be gone. Has to go. Michael Moore's film, canceled, censored, taken off anywhere. Jussie Smollett is seeking to capitalize on nationwide police protests with his latest legal argument. More noodle shots. Noodle boy, noodle shots. Robert Baden-Powell statue, the founder of Boy Scouts, has to go. And when they pull down statues like they did just the other night, which was kind of funny how the head fell on one of the protesters and put him in the hospital with serious injuries. When you do that, when people pull down statues, it is symbolic that they're coming for the leaders next. And if you people don't see it, you are screwed. Here's what's happening with the guns. It starts with the CEOs. Anthropology is a chain store. They sell clothes. And do you know what a lookbook is? Do you remember lookbooks from the advertising agencies?
I know about lookbooks, but I don't recall them, and it wasn't something that was in the public domain. Information available.
No, lookbooks before the internet, advertising agencies paid college kids mainly. They gave them Polaroid cameras, and just
mostly in New York.
I would say mostly in New York. Go out. Well, Madison Avenue is in New York. Go out with your Polaroids, take pictures. And so if someone would notice like a leopard print dress in a club and there's an album cover with leopard print and some other leopard print, these advertising agencies would charge their clients big money to look at the lookbook. Here are the trends we're identifying. So there's a good chance that fashion or some other product, whatever the trend was from the lookbook, would show up in advertising and in products. With the advent of the internet, data became the lookbook. And the agencies all became big data agencies, and Google and everybody all culling data, looking at the trends, and thinking they found trends, which, of course, they're not, because each trend for each individual person is algorithmically driven. All of it's algorithmically driven. So is it really a trend, or is it just a trend for a small set or for one individual? And the trend was woke culture. So all the agencies said, we've got a virtue signal. So in came the pride colors and Black Lives Matter and all the virtue signaling you can imagine. But now in anthropology, and it's going to be all the designers now. Anthropology is the best example. This news is not really breaking yet, but it's coming. They have all this virtue signaling stuff for Black Lives Matter. People inside the company, Noodle kids who work there, are now using the noodle gun, and they're saying, oh, yeah? Well, that's very interesting. We have a code word for black people or people of color in the store. It's Nick. And we say on the headsets, we say like yeah, could somebody please keep an eye on the Nicks over there? And hundreds of employees all over the country are confirming this. Someone's going down. The CEO's going down. The company could go down. This is a huge, to me, it's almost like the socialist workers' revolution somehow. They are taking control of corporations. Now they're figuring out that they can. This is going to be great to watch.
Clip of what's going on in Seattle. Riots. Let's do some riot updates and get some of these, falls right into what you're talking about.
Well, can I just give you one more bit and then we'll be done with it because we have to do this anyway? Because I know what the first real noodle gun cannon shot is. And that's
okay. What is it?
Well, that's Colin Kaepernick. I think it was the last show I said, I think he's going to hire him back.
No, you didn't say that. You put it in the red book.
I said, I put it in the red book. He's going to play again. He'll be hired. And again,
playing again and hired is two different things, but go on.
I think you know the intent of what I was saying. This is ES.
I know the intent was.
Go ahead.
I'm not okay. We have to stop for a second and clarify the Red Book entry.
Yeah, what does it say?
You think I know the intent because I'm a mind reader?
Hold on.
I can tell you what I understood.
I think I wrote it down. Did I write it down? Oh, okay. Here's what I wrote. Adam, June 7th, 2020, 11:25. Kaepernick to play NFL. That's what I said.
Play.
That's okay. That's okay. I'll take it. I was wrong. He might play.
Oh, you don't even give it a chance to roll out. You can't be wrong.
I just want to get to the clips. There's no desire to discuss what I predicted. This is ESPN.
Well, I just want to clarify.
This is the New Orleans Saints safety, Malcolm Jenkins.
Colin Kaepernick gets back in the league. What does that mean for the NFL on its stance for racial equality?
Well, I think it means something very significant. It means that the NFL is recognizing that it has to be what it says it is. You cannot have all of this commentary. You can't have Roger Goodell giving statements. You can't do all of that. You can't say Black Lives Matter if you're not going to recognize the black life that you ruined, that you actually went out and actively sought to end his career. But I think the more important part, David, is the fact that they're a $15 billion industry, and there has to be room for everybody. There has to be room for all of these different attitudes and these different points of view. You saw it with the video with the players yesterday. And there's no way that you're going to be able to say that you're an inclusive organization to everybody if you're going out and you're actively silencing the players. I mean, I just feel like when I think about this, I think about the ability of a country to be able to handle the truth. You have to be able to handle what's taking place. And it's actually one of the areas where we're at our worst, is the inability to actually sit down and say, listen, the world's not going to collapse if Colin Kaepernick is playing football in the NFL. If anything, it's actually helpful.
So that's just a guy from the Saints. I have no idea about sports. I don't know if it's important or not. So I'll just call that a BB gun shot. Let's get out the .22 caliber. This is Sonny Hostin of The View.
Things like kneeling. And the question is Colin Kaepernick owed an apology? What do you think, Sonny?
Well, I think he's not only owed an apology, Whoopi. I think he's owed his job. I think he's owed back pay. And I think he deserves a Nobel Peace Prize. I think what's fascinating about it is when you listen to Roger Goodell's mea culpa, he mentions everything. He says, we were wrong. We should have listened. Athletes in the league are now allowed to take a knee. We support peaceful protest. He mentions every single thing except the very name of the man who started the protest, who started this peaceful protest. Taking the knee has become the symbol of these protests. We see it just all over our country. We see it actually internationally now. And I think it's shameful that people were allowed to co-opt that movement and make it about the flag and make it something that it was never about. It really just is shameful.
Now, again, I don't know much about sports, certainly football or American football. As it was my understanding, Kaepernick was just not that good. He came back after whatever injury or whatever he had. He couldn't keep the weight on. The guy was just no good, and there was the controversy.
It wasn't that he was no good. They weren't playing him. But then I want to do some clarifications before we get too far off the track. He was being paid, by the way, even when he was off the team.
Sure.
No one would pick up his contract. He doesn't get back pay. He was getting his full salary. It was over $10 million as far as I recall, a year.
And I think he made a deal.
Still be getting it.
He made a deal, right? He made a whole a payoff deal too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a big payoff deal.
He made a lot of money.
So, but that doesn't matter because this is about a win. This is about shooting the Noodle gun right into the heart of the enemy, which of course is the racist NFL owners who are friends with Trump. We all know that that's what's going on. And the Noodle boys and girls found an ally. The man whose actual business model is to make things happen by shaming corporations. You can't get much bigger than the NFL. I mean, you can, but it's a big corporation. So in comes at the eulogy for the third eulogy for George Floyd, the Reverend Al.
Oh, it's nice to see some people change their mind. The head of the NFL said, yeah, maybe we was wrong. Football players, maybe they did have the right to peacefully protest. Well, don't apologize. Give Colin Kaepernick a job back.
This was the longest applause of the entire ceremony. I had to cut some of it out. That was so long. On their feet, standing ovation.
Don't come with some empty apology. Take a man's livelihood. Strip a man down of his talents. And 4 years later, when the whole world is marching, all of a sudden you go and do a FaceTime talking about you sorry.
A FaceTime?
Minimizing the value of our lives. You sorry, then repay the damage you did to the career you stood down. Because when Colin took a knee, he took it for the families in this building. And we don't want an apology. We want him repaired.
Woo! Repaired. We want him repaired like a reparation to Colin Kaepernick.
We have to revisit another piece of lost information that we revealed on the show, which is that one of the reasons he wasn't playing is because the line wouldn't block for him.
No.
Because he had an affair with one of the linemen's wives.
But also, he's mixed race. He was Mr. GQ, kind of more passing than anything, although, if anything, he looks a little more Jewish. But then once this happened, out came the fro all of a sudden. And this is from what I heard from Mo. I don't pay attention to that. So this whole thing, it really doesn't matter because where we're at now is Roger Goodell is under pressure. Al Sharpton doesn't just give up. This is his business model. He stands there until he gets what he wants or he'll stage protest after protest.
He got the business model from Jesse Jackson.
Yeah, and now we have Benjamin Crump is the new guy. He's in there as well. I think Al brought him in as the apprentice. Crump is the attorney for the family. Same business model. Chick-fil-A. Oh, someone was wearing a Back the Blue T-shirt in Chick-fil-A, one of the workers, which means, hey, I stand with the police. Oh, no, Chick-fil-A has to apologize. CEOs are going to be the ones to go. When a CEO is fired for this kind of thing, they can't work for a good 10 years. They're contaminated. These guys, they don't care about Noodle Boy, Noodle Girl, anything. They want their status, their job, their ability to move to other companies. A lot is going to get done with the Noodle gun.
Oh, I think so too.
Noodlegun.com.
Let's play my riots clip about Seattle, because this is the real problem, is as somebody pointed out, you give these guys an inch, they'll take a mile.
Washington State, hundreds of Black Lives Matter protesters took over Seattle City Hall Tuesday evening, demanding the defunding of the Seattle Police Department and the resignation of Mayor Jenny Durkan. Police did not try to stop the protesters as they marched downtown, unlike on previous nights when officers unloaded with a barrage of so-called less lethal firepower. On Monday, Seattle City Council member Teresa Mosqueda condemned the mayor's militarized response to protests.
How many people need to write in about being gassed in their own homes? How many people have to be sprayed in the street every night or experience getting hit with flash bombs or rubber bullets? How many people have to call for the police to be defunded, for you to consider resigning, or for the mayor to embrace radical change?
What I find kind of fun about this story is, these are the people that are, no borders. The first thing they do in their own country is set up a border.
Yeah.
And did you see the signs like, you are now leaving the USA? But it was kind of written on cardboard, like the way you used to put on your room, no girls allowed with the S backwards.
Yeah, the R.
Or the R backwards. This is exactly what I'm seeing. These are children. It's crazy.
Well, they apparently are out of control and taking over the place. The rise of the Noodle Boy.
The Noodle Kids.
I like your thing about the Noodle Gun. I think this may catch some legs.
Yeah, well, noodlegun.com is registered. That takes you to us. So that's a good start. Let's see where we at. Okay, then I'm probably
while we're at it.
Well, I don't know.
A little virtue signaling.
Please do something.
How about playing the bonus clip?
Okay.
which is a new Hollywood production showing the same. Oh, this is, we have the 20,000 or 20. There's 2,000 of these ex-Justice Department lawyers and DAs.
Oh, the mailing
always
list.
signing up for. We have the same thing in Hollywood with the Kristen Bells and the Stanley Tucci's, the same old group of people. And so they've come out with a little thing to shame the public.
I take responsibility.
I take responsibility.
I take responsibility. I take responsibility for every unchecked moment. For every time it was easier to ignore than to call it out for what it was.
Every not so funny joke. Every unfair stereotype.
Every blatant injustice, no matter how big or small.
Every time I remained silent.
Every time I explained away police brutality. Or turned a blind eye. I take responsibility. Black people are being slaughtered in the streets, killed in their own homes. These are our brothers and sisters, our friends, our family. We are done watching them die. We are no longer bystanders. We will not be idle. Enough is enough.
I will no longer allow an unchecked moment. I will no longer allow racist, hurtful words, jokes, stereotypes, no matter how big or small, to be uttered in my presence.
I will not turn a blind eye. Going for a jog should not be a death sentence. Sleeping in your own home should not be a death sentence.
Playing video games with your nephew should not be a death sentence.
Shopping in a store should not be a death sentence. Business as usual should not be life-threatening. I stand against hate.
I stand against hate.
I stand against hate.
I stand against hate.
I will stand against hate in love. I will make my presence known.
And killer cops must be prosecuted. They are murderers. We can turn the tide. It is time to take responsibility. Call out hate. Step up and take action.
Yeah. Sadly, this is not going to help much. And if I was one of the Democratic leaders, or any leader really, I would actually see if I could get a movie greenlit that really triggers everybody, because now we know it's no fun. There's no one left to trip up and nail to the wall in Hollywood. The people who are worried shut up and have gone away. Everyone's virtue signaling. So if you don't focus these noodles on Hollywood, they're going to go to the CEOs. This is very dangerous.
Yes. Somebody should do exactly what you said. Get something going. So that focus on Hollywood.
Yeah.
These Hollywood douchebags. Let's just look at this. Oh, I want to end stereotyping. Orange man bad. Trump's an asshole. Why don't you read a Rob Reiner tweet once in a while if you do want to stop hate? Yeah. I mean, this guy is the most hateful guy, and all the people that follow him and click like. I mean, this is the worst kind of hate, is the hate against our own president of the United States. It all comes from Hollywood. It all stems from Hollywood. And these douchebags who also produce the most violent, hate-filled films, they're the ones in the movies, not me. I can't get a SAG card. I can't even get a bit part. That's beside the point. The point is that these people are hypocrites.
Yep. That wasn't the cue, was it?
No. The cue's coming.
I was like, that's nothing.
You're going to hear it. Okay.
No, don't worry.
I'll give you a hint. It's going to be about Leopold II.
Ooh, of Belgium. I know all about Leopold II of Belgium.
Do you now?
So I do have good news. I have immersed myself with some of the younger white millennial children in Austin by happenstance. Who have participated in peaceful protesting, etc. And I noticed that Austin and Austin businesses, the woke ones, and the mayor and the city council are all following the lead of the Austin Justice Coalition. As Mayor Stephen Adler announces initiatives for anti-racist policy, marches alongside Austin protesters, the city council members discuss police reform solutions with the Austin Justice Coalition. Austin restaurants donating to support black communities and causes. There's about 15, 20 of them. Austin Justice Coalition. So what do? I go and take a look. Well,
I would hope so. They're right down the street from you.
Well, lo and behold, they are a nonprofit, have not published their 2018 or 2019 numbers. Now, when you have a nonprofit and you are a year behind, that's a flag in my mind. So I looked at the 2017 Form 990. It's basically one guy, and this one guy is a famous face around Austin. His name's Chaz, I think. And they raised about $130,000 in 2017. Most of that went to salaries and to travel. And I was curious why everyone's giving to this organization who don't seem to have a legitimate accounting in order. And so I emailed them. And I got a reply back. Actually, I should probably read that verbatim. That would be a little more accurate. And hold on a second. Texas. Here we go. And here it is. Thanks for reaching out. We are a nonprofit, but we use fiscal sponsorship through Texas Fair Defense Fund, as we are a very small staffed nonprofit with a large volunteer base. If you use their EIN and note AJC as the group, we will get the funds. I didn't offer any. I just said, where's your 990? I can provide information about our joint agreement to the appropriate people who need it. Well, let me just tell you, this is bullcrap. You're a nonprofit or you're not a nonprofit. You either have income and have a statement or you don't. They don't, because they're on the payroll of the Texas Fair Defense Fund. The Texas Fair Defense Fund does not have an entry saying they gave money to the Austin Justice Coalition. But the Texas Fair Defense Fund is also quite small. They have received...
Wait, stop. Is it as in fair defense, or is it defending the Texas State Fair?
The Texas Fair Defense Project, which is... So remember, this is Black Lives Matter. They're taking money for Black Lives Mattering, and that money is going to an organization that wants to change the criminal justice system and have been working in Texas to remove bail bonds. Bail.
This is what...
So this has nothing to do, absolutely nothing to do specifically with Black Lives Matter. At all. Here, I'll read to you our mission. We fight to end the criminalization of poverty in Texas. We envision a system of justice that upholds the dignity and civil rights of all people, regardless of income, race, or gender. Okay, so the money these companies are donating to help black people in Austin goes to these guys who do about $400,000 a year, spend more than half of it on their own salaries, $80,000 on lobbying, and almost the rest on travel. This is not going to anybody but these, and Austin is filled with little consultants who are a nonprofit who suck off of the Dell Foundation teat, organizing little events and stuff. And if you're under 200,000, you can file a Form 990 easy. You just say, we made this, we got that, we're tax exempt, goodbye. That's all you have to do. This is a scam of epic proportions, and people are falling for it. So when I say to these young white girls, hey, tell me about the Austin Justice Coalition, I got answers ranging from, they support black creative artists, to they support Black Lives Matter, to, they're working with the black community in Austin. Bull. Yeah, sure, they're black people who are poor, who are being criminalized. They're a part of the poverty problem. But this scam is everywhere. Everywhere you look, there's these little organizations. And where is this consistent $400,000 a year coming from? That, of course, they don't have to report, and they don't. Although I feel if you're spending $80,000 on lobbying, you should be reporting who you're lobbying for, on behalf of who. And maybe that's some other thing that I could find somewhere. But this is... I find it absolutely outrageous. And people are falling for it. So, They are the children you're seeing, most of the children you're seeing, and I'll just call them children, are underinformed and over-socialized. They really do, and they have a good heart. They all have good hearts. They're like, hey, man, we just want peace and love, and they're being manipulated, and they don't know it, and it's to a degree where you can't even say anything because silence is complicity. What kind of a good heart
do you have when you get shouted down?
No, I'm just telling you where who I spoke to, this is where they're coming from. They're coming from a good place, but they're underinformed. They're ignorant. They absolutely do not know. And what is the one thing they say consistently? Well, it's systemic racism. That's what we're against. Institutional racism, systemic. We have to get rid of this everywhere. Enter Bob Woodson. I found another interview with Bob Woodson. This is the guy who exited the civil rights movement that he was in. He's in his 80s, I think, late 70s. He runs the Woodson Institute, and he was on American Thought Leaders on the podcast. 3 clips, but I think they are incredibly important to understand from this former civil rights ADOS black man. We have to do colors.
Why don't they put him on CNN?
Oh, well, listen to what he has to say, and the answer becomes clear.
And so I really think that this talk about institutional, I don't know what institutional racism is. I want someone to...
Stop the clip. I think you've mixed it up. This is actually Fauci.
Sorry, I was lowering my desk during the clip. No, it's actually Bob Woodson.
And so I really think that this talk about institutional, I don't know what institutional racism is. I want someone to tell me what that means. I believe that the reason that they keep invoking it is because it prevents black elected officials who have been running these cities, they're liberal Democratic mayors and city council members, school board members, been running our cities for the last 50 years. And those are the places where they identify the largest amount of inequities exist. Well, they don't have to then answer the difficult question, if you were elected on the promise of improving the conditions for the least of these, why are children failing in systems run by your own people? So to avoid answering that question, all they've got to do is point to some abstract notion like institutional racism. Somehow white America has found a way to compel black professionals to miseducate their children in schools run and controlled and financed by them. But they don't have to answer that question as long as they can keep the public's attention focused on institutional racism, whatever that means. Then they don't have to address the difficult questions.
I had never thought of it that way. I think he's spot on. And we need to start asking people or finding definitions of institutional racism. But what Woodson is about to say here is what he believes is actually going on, an abuse of demographics and data, all hidden under this guise of institutional racism.
First of all, you cannot generalize about the black community anymore than any other people. We're not monolithic. We have difference in education, difference in income, and when it's convenient, we generalize the black community, and we use the demographics of those who are living in the most troubling situations. We use the demographics of incarceration, of low income, housing. We use that demographic information to make a case that all blacks are suffering. Okay. And then when the money arrives, it goes not to the people suffering the problem, but those who are providing service. For instance, in the last 50 years, the government has spent $22 trillion on programs to aid the poor. 70 cents of all those dollars go not to the poor, but those who serve poor people. They ask not which problems are solvable, but which ones are fundable. Then you have black elected officials, many of them were veterans of the civil rights movement, who then came into political office. They were the ones who were dispensing those funds. And listen to this. 2 out of 10 whites who with college degrees works for government. 6 out of 10 blacks with college education works for government, which means that the vast amount of money that has been spent on the poor that has produced and reinforced dependency have been administered by a lot of middle-class blacks who then elect those into office in those cities who continue this funding. And so as a consequence, over the past 50 years, if you look at the biggest income gap in America isn't between whites and blacks, but it's between lower income blacks and upper income blacks. And so the question, if that is true, if racism is the culprit, then why are not all blacks suffering equally? And so that you have a lot of professional blacks are operating in a professional class whose careers depend upon having poor people to serve. And these are not ill-intentioned people, but you're talking about structural racism is structural inequality, which means that you got one class of blacks whose careers and future depends upon another group of blacks who are dependent. So that if your career as a professional service provider is dependent upon having dependent people to serve, what incentives do you have to promote independence among the class of people who are down and struggling for independence and self-sufficiency? You do not have one.
Now, it's just his view, but he has some credentials in the area.
I think his view is accurate.
I think it is, too. I mean, you cannot deny, if you look at Baltimore, what's been going on. That's a great example of what he's talking about. But, you know, and actually it was interesting, some troll in the troll room whose nickname was Defund said, this is a skewed right-wing view of history. It may be. That's possible. I don't know. Sounds pretty feasible to me.
Well, what history are we talking about?
I don't know. I'm just telling you.
It sounds like sociology to me. Doesn't sound like history at all.
That's how people are triggered, man. They just, and, you know, hey, handle, defund. What does that tell you about this person? Final clip, a little shorter. So what is really going on here? What is really happening? Well, it's white guilt, as we'd expect.
As instruments of institutional racism, they don't live in those communities that are suffering the problem. Their children are not in the foster care system. And so you have an unfortunate situation where middle class, I call them grievance-oriented, middle class, privileged elites are the ones on television shaking their fists, claiming that America is incurably racist. And they are preying on the guilt of white Americans who are writing checks to them. So they are personally enriching themselves and their organizations in the name of champions of,
we just saw this,
social justice. And they are taking money in the name of addressing an injustice. But the people who are going to suffer from this arrangement will be the people in those communities. Because around the country, recruitment of police officers is down 62%. It has the highest kind of dropout rate of people. Suicide rates among law enforcement is high. And that is 86% of the police chiefs said they're having difficulty recruiting people. And so what happens in some cases, in some cities, the police are unable to respond appropriately to 911 calls because they don't have enough officers to cover it.
It's in the show notes. Well worth listening to the full hour of Bob Woodson. And yes, why don't they put him on CNN? Well, hello. That doesn't quite seem to go with the message. And the message always is Orange Man bad. That's all that it is. Focus, people, obey. You know who the problem is.
It's just a matter of soaking these idiots. I'm reminded. This is just not even part of the conversation, but I'm reminded by the concept that the idea is to find these guys to get their money.
Mm-hmm.
I used to be in the mailing list business for a very short time, but I knew a lot about it when I had a newsletter just before I became editor of InfoWorld.
Mm-hmm.
And there used to be a catalog of mailing lists. You used to be able to rent these lists. And the big catalog was called Standard Rates and Data, and it was this huge catalog of you want a field and stream mailing list, here's how many people are on it, and here's how much it costs per thousand to borrow the list. You have to use it for one-time mailing. You have to go to mailing services that could do this stuff. They have big, giant mag tapes. It was very interesting. It's a dead business.
Did you get to handle them? Did you handle the mag tapes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I still have a couple. Anyway, if you go down, go look through the mailing list, there's a lot. This is just before there's a movement called the database movement where they started combining lists, and then they'd come up with people that subscribe to this and that, you'd get this. But there was this one list. It was a very valuable list. It was called Bleeding Hearts. And you could rent this list, and it was millions of people they apparently would just buy anything. You could, if you took the right pitch at them, they were bleeding hearts. And this is what we're dealing with here, which is people that they feel so guilt-ridden. They're made to feel guilty, and then they get soaked for donating to this little Texas operation you're talking about. They don't even know what they're donating to.
No,
it's just to assuage their bleeding heart.
Yeah.
It's kind of pathetic, I'm sorry to say.
Not kind of. It's super pathetic. And then how about this I think was the top, the ultimate, where the Democrats, everyone saw it, dressed up in African scarves, brightly from Ghana, as it turns out. And they did
I actually have two clips.
Let's play it because this was we went within a year or two from cultural appropriation being one of the most shameful things you can do to the actual Democrat Party leaders doing that in some virtue signal about Black Lives Matter. It's fantastic.
Well, I've got two black guys commenting on this. One's a comedian, there's another. Both these guys have a total number of Twitter followers is like double ours combined.
Oh, is this the black conservative twins?
No, I didn't get them. Those guys were funny too. I did not get the Hodgson twins.
The Hodgson twins, yeah.
Yeah, they're very funny. But this is the clip that I have two. I couldn't get the second guy's name. I screwed up. Now this is the one. This is Terrence Williams on Dems.
Okay.
No, hold up, wait a minute.
Oh yeah, so this is the guy who does the YouTube. He was invited to the White House. That kid, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
No, hold up, wait a minute. So, no. Let's back up here a minute. Let me get myself together. Terrence, be serious here. Okay, so y'all think you gonna get the black vote by kneeling with some African scarves on? Oh, we not even from Africa. I've never been to Africa. Listen, I have not been outside of the United States of America. Why are you wearing an African scarf to get my vote? You're not finna get my vote wearing an African scarf. First of all, I am from America, so put on an American scarf and maybe you'll get my vote. But hold on, no, you're not gonna get my vote. Do y'all not know that you have to work for a vote? Do you not know that you have to actually do something for people to get a vote? You just can't put on a scarf and get on your dirty knees and think you're going to get my vote. Well, you got on your knees for nothing because you're not getting my vote. Not today, not tomorrow.
It's called tangibles. That's what this young man is looking for. Tangibles. I love that Nancy couldn't even get up.
Nancy Pelosi couldn't get up. And then she blamed it on her heels.
Yeah. And Nadler didn't even kneel because he knew he'd just roll right over. That man is an actual troll. He is really a troll.
Now, the other guy, that was awfully low. I didn't barely.
Oh, really? Oh, I'm sorry. It spiked it on the podcast. I'll make sure.
Okay, as long as it's on the podcast.
Yeah, no, it's okay.
So this is the other guy whose name I lost, but he's another famous black guy who's got his following is unbelievable, and I don't know if he's an actor or a presenter, but this is another good take.
And who is it?
This is the one that says Terrence Williams vitriol over Democrats kneeling.
Ah, gotcha.
I was on the plane all day. I didn't notice that Democrats was on their knees like a bunch of dumb and dashiki scarves. And the thing that's most disrespectful about everything that's involved in it is they wear all those African colors and flags when they've been in power for 40, 50 plus fucking years, destroying black communities, the black family, all of their policies that you can think of coming out of the fucking Democrat Party has been clearly meant to destroy, control the fucking black poor population in this fucking country, period. But especially black, since the very fucking beginning. So when I see Nancy Pelosi, disgusting ass on her fucking knee, taking the knees, that she really gives a fuck about black folks. Why the fuck has this shit been happening still on your watch then, huh? Riddle me fucking that. All these years of all these people being murdered, being discriminated against, and now you want to put on a fucking dashiki scarf? Now you want to care? Fuck out of here. Fuck every Democrat. You're sick. You're lying pieces of shit.
Eddie Murphy just called. He wants the title of Mr. Fuck You Man back, please. Holy crap.
So there's a lot of irked.
Well, I haven't.
That's publicity stunt, which is what it was.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was virtue signaling. Again, they made a mistake. This is I'm butchering the name, of course. Ikiocha Obianuju, who is from Ghana, and she lives in America, so she is actually an African American. A Ghanese, although she'd probably say she's from Ghana, but it doesn't matter. Here's what she had to say, because this presented a problem for the actual Africans.
I was just looking online today, like most of you, and what did I see? A bunch of Democrat politicians kneeling down, of which I have nothing to say about that because I am not an American. However, they were all having around their necks this colorful fabric, which I'm sure they put around their necks as some kind of mark or show of unity or solidarity with black people. So in other words, they are putting forward the kente material or this colorful fabric they had around their necks as some kind of placating sign or symbol to show that they are not racist and they are together with black people. Excuse me, dear Democrats, in your tokenism, you didn't wait to find out that this thing that you're hanging around your neck is not just some African uniform. It's actually the kente material. The kente belongs to the Ghanaian people, mainly the Ashanti tribe. Excuse me, Democrats, don't treat Africans like we're children. These fabrics and these, colorful things that we have within our culture and tradition, they all mean something to us. I know you look at us and you say, oh, Africans, you're so cute in all your colorful dresses. Well, some of those dresses and patterns and colors and fabrics actually do mean something to us. Some of them belong to ancient tribes and mean something to them. So why are you using it as your own show of non-racism or your own show of virtue? Why are you using the kente material to signal your virtue? Stop it. We are not children. Africans are not children. And leave our tradition and our culture to us. And if you don't know much about it, ask somebody. I'm sure there would have been something else you could have done to show your solidarity with black people, instead of taking the kente material and making a little show of it.
Some even have said that some of those colors belong to the Kente tribes who actually had slaves and sold them to the Dutch to trade with the Americans. So it's just a little extra insult they've added there. What a bunch of nincompoops.
Well, that was Nancy's doing.
What an idiot. I mean, seriously. Like she said, it doesn't take much brain power to figure out that was not a good idea.
Was a simplistic view of the world.
Yeah,
that allows you to go in that direction.
Yeah.
And I don't like the idea of our leaders having such a simplistic view of the world, especially when they're accusing the president of having a simplistic view of the world.
Yeah, well,
so
yeah,
that was a fiasco, and it was, and then not being able to get up was the final touch.
that really made it perfect. But there's lots of virtue signaling everywhere. Silicon Valley is doing all they can to stop everything. Oh, by the way, in the Netherlands, of course, their protests. It's now, obviously, we were waiting for it. It started out as, hey, man, stop those racist white American cops from killing black people. And now there's a new term that has been introduced in the Dutch vernacular, and it is Afrikaanse Nederlanders. So whereas we have African Americans, they now have African Netherlanders. Instead of just Dutch, no. Now they have to start to virtue signal and you're African, it would be African Dutch, the right translation, but Nederlanders, it kind of flows better. You say Afrikaanse Nederlanders, it has a sound to it. Most of these people aren't from Africa. They're from Indonesia. They're from, it's like, come on, man. But no, the virtue signaling continues. And that's how it's going to be played. And go ahead.
I was going to say, I want to finish what your thought was. I interrupted you.
No, it doesn't. I don't remember.
Okay, well, there's a clip we played on the last show I wanted to clarify.
Okay.
This clip, which is the Let the Extortion Begin live protest, a 24-second clip. Play it again.
Okay.
I'm a leader of this FTP movement. It means a lot of things. It can mean free the people. It can mean for the people. It could also mean fire to property. And that's very possible. Tonight I'm leading a demonstration from Barclays Center at 6 p.m. to City Hall. And that's the first stop. And we're hoping de Blasio and Cuomo come out and talk to us and give the youth some direction. But if they don't, the next stop is the Diamond District. And gasoline, thanks to Trump, is awfully cheap.
Okay, clarification.
So they busted this guy. Turns out he's a Brooklyn attorney.
Oh, boy. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Huh. No,
his voice was so distinctive. I guess this guy just one of the members of the firm here.
So he wasn't. Did he get fired?
I don't know yet. That's still up in the air. But I can't imagine him not getting disbarred.
I owe Katie Williams a huge apology.
Katie Williams?
Yes, on the last show, and I'm taking the blame, but he said, negating what I just said. My email problem from the last show, which was quite problematic, it was a big problem. I screwed up, and I said that Katie Williams had emailed that rules for white people, which you questioned if it was real or not, which I think is pretty clear now. It's it and similar messages are out there and are real. She hadn't sent it. She was the girlfriend who sent it to our producer, who sent it to me. And so she was very displeased with that. And of course, I apologize to her personally, and I want to make good on that here on the show. This shit does happen. I'm sorry.
No.
Yeah, I know.
Should be ashamed of yourself.
I am ashamed of myself. I didn't mean it.
I've got another, since we're talking about these, Antifa, it wasn't brought into the picture, but they're really one of the targets, and they may be behind a lot of the activities, including that letter, which I still question, which is Laura Logan is back, and she's pounding the pavement here and there, because I guess, she had a run-in with Antifa, and she's not happy about it.
You know that, now she's a tough cookie. She was on Tahrir Square, where she was sexually abused and molested by all these men who just surrounded her and were sticking stuff in her. It was horrible. And I mean, it's true. It's I'm not joking.
Well, she was pretty naive at the time to think a pretty blonde, when she was in her best looks right there, and she's by herself.
No,
and then the camera crew got separated.
Yes, that's what happened.
The camera crew ended up disappearing, and she's now surrounded.
Are you blaming the victim?
No, I'm not.
You said she was pretty.
Am I blaming the victim? Am I blaming somebody who goes into a war zone and gets shot at for being shot at?
No, it's just saying if you're blaming the victim. She was.
No, I'm just kind of trying to philosophize whether I'm blaming the victim or not. I might actually be blaming the victim.
Was she? Because you said she was naive, and I think I
thought. Well, there's a naivete, it seems to me, in that situation. But okay, she's okay though.
Yes, she's now, and I think she's badass. I mean, I like what she does a lot. I mean,
have you seen any of her clips? I think she's had some work.
Oh no, not some. She had something massive done, and it was necessary, but it changed her face a little bit. Now, it could just be some temporary swelling. We know this does happen. I have some previous wives who have given me some knowledge in this area. But yes, she's had work done, but it doesn't matter to me, because the work she's doing I think is pretty impressive. She speaks out, and that's why they've put her on Fox Nation, so they can't cancel her off TV. You see.
So here she is discussing the fake bookshop scam going on. There's something going on, and your little town there seems to be the nexus of some of this.
Well, one of the most interesting things about this video, Sean, is that it shows how this American woman married to an Antifa activist from Sweden came to the U.S. and really brought the European model of Antifa to the city. And it really struck a chord with me because it centers around a bookshop, which is a kind of fake bookshop where the training occurs. And I've been talking to members of, law enforcement here, very senior law enforcement sources who talk about the exact same type of bookshop in Austin, Texas, that has already been investigated, that is operating in exactly the same way, where you have professors from nearby universities, in this case UT, and in the video they're talking about in Portland, who will train recruits there in here. And what's extraordinary is that there's a very organized process where you have to be vetted. Vetting is not simple. It takes a long time. You have an entire syllabus. There's a certain number of lessons that you have to attend. You have to be taught in different things. Most importantly, you have to know how to conceal your identity. And one of the greatest deceptions of this movement or organization, whatever you want to call it, is that there is no organization to it. That's what they want you to believe. Because as Dan will tell you, that's how they stay one step ahead of law enforcement all the time. That's how they avoid accountability. So they'll change their names. They'll proliferate the numbers of groups. But if you have any doubt about how organized they are, take a look at what's been circulating on a number of their website. This is digital security for activists, right? And they put it out. This is the Civil Liberties Defense Center that's putting it out, which basically tells you how to encrypt your communications, how to scrub your social media accounts. They have webinars training people in this. So you don't have to have a central, mini-man command structure, sort of, this is how we're all going to do it. Because they put out their tactics, they put out their ideology, and they all follow the same kind of principles. And I can promise you, this is one of many sites out there.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So what's this bookshop in Austin that she's talking about? Okay,
so I'm aware of the story. I am not 100% sure, but from what I understand, this would be Book People. It's and I've been to Book People many times. It's, I think, one of the few really independent bookstores. It's conveniently located for parking right next to Whole Foods. But it's a little independent store. You know, it does have 3 stories, and they have meetings there all the time of all sorts. It's a very community-oriented bookstore, so I don't think I blame the bookstore, but I'm pretty sure that's where it's happening. And anyone in Austin, let me know. Let's go find out. Let's go attend a meeting. Let's see if we can learn something.
You'll be spotted a mile away.
What? I just want to come in. I just want to.
Yeah, I'll take you out back.
Oh, please. No one's going to take me out back. Their weapon is they got noodle guns. Noodle guns don't hurt you. They just get you fired. or
well,
destroyed.
That's a foil.
Yes.
All right. I got the riot update in Austin.
Okay, let's see. Riot.
We're talking about Austin.
There we go.
A warning to our viewers. This next story contains graphic images of police violence. Ugh. In Austin, Texas, Black Lives Matter.
Notice only police violence. No other violence. It's just police violence.
In Austin, Texas, Black Lives Matter activists are demanding the arrest of officers who sent 2 young people to the hospital with head trauma at recent protests. On May 31st, police shot 20-year-old Texas State University student Justin Howell in the head with a lead pellet bag fired by an officer's shotgun. After he fell unconscious to the pavement, he was picked up by fellow protesters who tried to rush him past a police line for medical attention. The police then opened fire with another barrage. Powell was hospitalized in critical condition with a fractured skull and brain damage. A day earlier, another Austin officer shot 16-year-old Brad Levy Ayala in the head with a beanbag round as the teen stood passively on a hillside near a line of riot police. Ayala's family says he's undergoing neurological testing at an Austin hospital and faces a long road to recovery.
Yeah. I'm so sorry. You go to the protest, the deal is you can get hurt. I saw these news reports. They're all local. Yeah, kids were standing behind the protesters a little off to the left, videotaping them, of course. And I don't think a cop aimed at him specifically away from the group. But the cops were, bottles were being thrown. So they would, they decided, okay, it's time. And they shot back and people got hurt. Hello. What do you expect, Noodle boys? I'm sorry. I have no compassion for this. feel horrible for the children, but you go there, that's going to happen. The hell? Don't you give your children the talk? The white kid talk?
Stay away from riots.
Stay away from riots, you moron. It wasn't a protest. It was a riot. They were starting to riot. Well, hello. But then, he was standing passively. Oh, yeah. All of them were passive.
Yeah, well, that kid got dropped.
Now, did Amy have a report about the Dallas police officer who was killed, or the other police officers who have been killed? Any report on that? Did she highlight that?
No.
No, of course not.
No. The Democracy Now! Is a Trotskyite organization. It's just that simple.
Yes, Trotskyite. Yeah, I like it. I think you're right. Let's see.
If you want to catch up, I get the other two. I got the riots in New York. And
let's finish these riots. Let's do that.
Okay, let's go. New York. This is the riots in New York. This is a sketchy story. I have some comments on this one. I've seen this video a number of times.
Here in New York police officer Vincent D'Andrea has been charged with assault, criminal mischief, harassment, and menacing after video showed him violently shoving a peaceful protester to the ground as he shouted an expletive and a misogynistic slur at her. 20-year-old Dunya Zaire suffered a seizure and was hospitalized with concussion after the May 29th attack.
Okay.
All right, so here, they never really show the full clip. They only show the spot where the cop starts to shove this woman. And they're marching down the street in kind of like a formation of cops. And she runs into the street, apparently up to him, and he shoves her out of the way. But he puts a little more force on it than that old fart that was shoved down by the Buffalo police that they made a big stink about.
Mm-hmm.
She was actually shoved.
You mean the one that someone actually canceled their No Agenda subscription because I was propagating Russian fake news?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, for every one person we lose for you propagating Russian fake news, there's something fishy about that bit. Let's face it.
Mm-hmm.
We should pick up a couple. So people help step up. Help make
folks.
up for this lost subscriber.
Yes.
Who probably didn't like the show anyway and probably wasn't a subscriber. I'd have to go look in the database.
No. He's a recognized name, and he was so upset that his subscription had just gone through, and he was like, I can't believe it. I'm canceling my subscription. I can't believe you did that. It was at the top of the show, like your offhanded comment.
Yeah.
And I said, well, apparently the guy is an agitator.
He's been arrested like 85, 70 times or something like that. That's well known.
No,
he is an agitator.
I know, but
I think it's
people get really riled up. This is my point.
I don't know why people get worked up by certain things. They just have to put up with our show. But let's talk about this girl. So all we see is him shoving her, and he doesn't. Unlike the old man, this guy pushed this girl. Like, get that he gave her a good shove.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing that she couldn't have,
recovered from.
Her. Yeah, she could have recovered from it because she was dead. It wasn't like, but she didn't. She stumbled and then hit her head, or looked like she did. And then she's curled up and moaning. And the cops kept walking. But it looked to me as though she ran up to the cop and spat at him or
something like
said
that.
something.
Yeah.
Who knows? We never hear the cop side of the story. All we know is that he shoved her and called her something, which I would assume was the C word. And that was about that. And so I found this to be a sketchy story, this New York story. I still don't buy it. Now, this one.
Wait. Can we just stick with New York? Because I do have a cop quote from the New York cops. Because that's what's being reported. This was a clip. I only saw it once or twice. But this is the New York City Police Union boss.
This isn't stained by someone in Minneapolis.
Mono for
it's
some
still
reason.
Got a shine on it. And so do theirs. So do theirs. Stop treating us like animals and thugs. And start treating us with some respect. That's what we're here today to say. We've been left out of the conversation. We've been vilified. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. trying to make us embarrassed of our profession. 375 million interactions. Overwhelmingly positive. Nobody talks about all the police officers that were killed in the last week in the United States of America, and there were a number of them. We don't condone Minneapolis. We roundly reject what he did as disgusting. It's disgusting. It's not what we do. It's not what police officers do. Our legislators abandoned us. The press is vilifying us. Well, you know what, guys? I'm proud to be a cop. And I'm going to continue to be proud to be a cop until the day I retire. And that's all I have to say.
600 cops want to resign.
I think the cops should use, they got a union, the police union, and then, of course, the unions are the greatest thing in the world, according to Democracy Now!
Yeah, yes.
Except when they're police.
Right, and then it's no good.
So make up your minds what kind of union you want. And then I've gotten to an argument about, that's different because there's public servants shouldn't be in a union anyway, and so the police shouldn't have a union. I said, well, then explain to me the SEIU.
Yeah, how does that work?
Service Employees Union, the one that big Obama supporters. That's all service guy people, mostly government workers.
Yep.
So, but they're okay.
Yeah,
because they're big Democrats.
Yes, yes.
So let's go from that to the riots. This story here needed a little more investigation. Amy just reads it off as a horrific story. And I will look into it and see what actually happened here. But this is a horrible story. This is Riot San Jose.
In San Jose, California, police shot their own anti-bias trainer in the groin, rupturing his testicle with a rubber-coated bullet as he tried to de-escalate tension between police and protesters at a May 29th rally. Doctors say 27-year-old Derek Sanderlin, who's African-American, may never be able to father children.
Oh, my God. Wow. Yeah. That's what we call human interest in the news business.
There seems to be. It would be nice to know the actual story of what happened here. It's like he's trying to calm people down and they shoot him in the nuts. I mean, really?
It's not even that funny. No, it is funny. I can't help myself.
It's not funny, but I'm sure it would happen to you. It wouldn't be funny. That's for sure.
Oh
it's
my
just
gosh!
A circumstance.
Can you see that juice?
Oh, please! The worst. You're bad.
And with that, I'd like to thank you for your courage and say in the morning to you, the man who put the C in democratic cultural appropriation, John C. Dvorak.
Well, in the morning to you, Mr. Adam Curry. Also in the morning to all ships and sea, boots on the ground, feet in the air, subs in the water, and all the dames and knights out there.
And a big in the morning to our trolls in the troll room. Let's check and see how we're doing, trolly trolls. 1563, just a tad above normal for our lockdown shows. It's really gotten, really increased quite a bit since over the past 3 months, and we're very happy. A lot of people seem to enjoy their amygdala shrinking. That's noagendastream.com, where you can go hang out with Defund and troll with him. It's great fun. It's noagendastream.com, where you can also listen to this show live. Many other shows are live when they're recorded, and also we play back podcasts 24 hours a day. There's always something going on with the troll room, noagendastream.com, and ask them there for an invite to noagendasocial.com, proudly federating with the rest of the Mastodon social networks. Federate or die, it's the future. And
Did
then,
you say you could hang out in the troll room with EFUD?
No, I don't know what I said, but defund. Defund, the troll that was saying
defund.
Defund. Defund, yes.
Defund, yeah.
And then a big sorry?
Go on.
A big in the morning to Mike Riley, who brought us outstanding artwork once again. It was based upon the Sesame Street clips. It was No Agenda Street, number 33. And there's Elmo with a Molotov cocktail. It had everything you needed in there. and then some. It was a beautiful...
Got more compliments on Twitter than any artwork I've ever seen.
It's definitely up there. And I had a note from him, from Mike. Here it is. Adam John, hope order has been restored to your inbox. Yes, quick note on the art. Antifa Mi Elmo was my 33rd win. I knew it was a home run when I put it up, but was on No Agenda Social rooting for someone to beat it anyway because it's too dark. I disavow this abomination. If you could, call out Seabolt and his roommate Dave as douchebags. Oh, hold on a second. I didn't have the douche.
Douchebag.
Okay. Seabolt. Douchebag. And Seabolt's roommate Dave. Douchebag. They've listened to every episode since I hit him in the mouth last year. There you go. And so he's done all the winners below. He sent an email, including my favorite, Mr. Bonesaw, episode 1078. He says that he's had 8.18% of winning album art since February 2017. Not that he's counting. Just want you to know. But you can't get around it. It was a great piece of art. It was simple. It said it all, and everybody got it, and the compliments were huge. You can contribute in this by going to noagendaartgenerator.com. This is part of the value for value system. And this is a huge amount of value we get. You know, people clicked on it. I got someone the other day who tweeted, "You're wrong, Curry. You're wrong about changing your album art. You're messing with your brand. People get confused." I said, no, I don't think so.
How does that work for musical artists who have to do maybe over their career 50 albums? Should they all be the same?
Yes. Well, that's that's what. Who did that? Was it Toto? They just had numbers. No, Chicago had numbers. Yeah, those are great brands. Okay. noagendaartgenerator.com. Thank you all very much for participating in the value for value system.
These amateurs that have their own particular I'd say high school notions about branding.
Yes.
Are
entertaining.
Yes. And let's thank a few people for contributing to show 1250.
Shall we?
Starting with Tyler Stout in San Antonio, Texas, $651.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, I've been listening to the show for about 2 years now. I've made various donations and such in the past, though to be honest, I really never grasped how valuable No Agenda was to me until recently. The events of these last few months have really put things into perspective. In an age where insanity is the norm, I found hope here. No Agenda is invaluable to me. Adam and John's deconstruction is only part of the value. The community of open-minded folks from all walks of life has added far more value than I could ever imagined. On that note, I'd like to urge everyone to get involved. Rather that be through donations, contributing, or meeting up, you'll be a better person for it. Or at least you won't be a douchebag. Shout out to the No Agenda San Antonio and Austin. Our most recent meetups in Austin was fantastic. If you live in Texas, be sure to catch the short bus and come hang out at one of ours or Austin's many upcoming meetups. With that said, this donation should bring me to knighthood. I'd like to be knighted as Sir Senpal. I request anime-wrapped Glocks at the round table.
Okay.
I'm not sure what that means.
Well,
all further donations, but apparently Adam does.
Yeah.
All further donations from me will go towards my firecracker wife's damehood. That's a good one, firecracker. She's a firecracker. And if it's no trouble, is she a redhead? For some reason, that makes me think she's a redhead.
Could be.
And if it's no trouble, I'd like to request a Sharpton compilation and Karma for All.
Yes. So I guess you can wrap your Glock to make it look special. And we haven't played this one in a while.
Thanks Good evening, to you, Ed. Is this Groundhog Day 2? We are watching that was Attorney General Eric Holder, ABDs, about some Republicans at home are already beating the drums of war. Today, the Pentagon refuted that claim. And he said the American people do not want him to, quote, dwindling. They do not want him dwindling his thumbs. You can get a gig as a contortionist. Intravenous fluids and pills coated with gelatin. We don't leave our women or men in uniform behind. It's a monument to the hubris of Dick Cheney, Representative Raul Labrador. The years of abuse. I personally apologize to Mr. Peebles. Just ask to soon-to-be former Congressman. Democrats are outright jitty. CIA's counterterrorism center. Veteran Affairs Secretary Shinseki. Why do I always mess up his name? Shinseki. I love my critics to have fun with that.
You've got karma.
Ow. I like it when he stops knowing he made a mistake and tries to correct himself and makes the same mistake.
It is good.
Christopher Hubbard's next on the list, $336.66 from Denver, Colorado. ITM from the hybrid hominid of West Denver, where the divide between those with masks and those without seems to be split as much by socioeconomic status as by political leanings. This donation is the fruit of the Curry-Rogan cross-pollination event at 33 is in there for obvious reasons, but the 666 represents the black cube of Saturn, to which many have been bending the knee. I would love to say more, but to keep it short, all I want to say is peace, love, and unity. De-douche me, if you would.
You got it.
You've been de-douched.
2 jingles if you got them. Boogity, 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 followed by You May Die. Oh, and if JCD could just say, oh, brother, give me a break. This is bullcrap. One time, it would make me and many others very happy. Thank you for your courage.
Boogity Boogity is no jingle. It's a part of a longer clip, so I don't have that. I do have...
You might die.
And you need to do your line again.
Oh, brother, give me a break. This is bull crap.
Nicely done.
Did I say that a lot?
No.
Sure, Rotorhead's up on the list.
Sounded authentic.
333. I know, and I can't get a bit part. Sir Rotorhead, 333 in Anaheim, Arizona. Anaheim, Arizona? Really?
Yeah. Anthem, Arizona is what it says.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I said Anaheim. Let me go back. Oh, Anthem. Oh, well. Sorry. This executive producership is given in honor of my father, Norman, who passed away 1 year ago today from brain cancer. He was a great man and a good friend. Love and light, Dad. Sir Rotorhead, a F cancer karma, please, would be appreciated.
Absolutely.
You've got karma.
You can read the next one, and I'll go get the note.
Okay. This is from Jim Turner, Louisville, Kentucky. And he says, longtime listener, not really, first-time caller, another JRE crossover. Began listening about 2 to 3 weeks after Adam's appearance and was immediately hooked. Nice. In addition to recently finding no agenda, I shortly thereafter made the leap to Mo Facts. I found that dialogue extremely interesting also and will break into executive producership there soon. I really appreciate your dissection of the M5M and its ability to do what I think I understand is keeping my amygdala in check. Yes, you are correct. You're new, but you are on the ball. I've been unable to watch news other than that a rare Fox News Sunday or even rarer NPR News Hour for 3+ years, instead relying mostly on written word, which I think makes bias clearer or at least more palatable without the drama. Given the Joe Rogan Experience linkage I and several other newbies to the podcast have mentioned, I would find interesting to see possible future visits to JRE by JCD and or Mo. Well, I'll get right on that. It's not exactly how it works. You don't call up Joe Rogan and say, I'm coming on tomorrow. Sorry, it's like The Tonight Show. It is The Tonight Show. It's not how it works. I'm an active duty service member and will soon promote to the next grade. I was going to hold off on donating a bit longer and make the transition and extra pay a transition point to non-douchebaggery. I just couldn't bring myself to wait any longer. It's time I started working my way toward knighthood and eventually anointing as Sir James of Butchertown. Podcast 1250, Colonel and soon Colonel Jim. I don't know what he's talking about there. I'd like to thank Adam, Joe, and then Adam and JCD for smacking me in the mouth. I'd also like to call out as a douchebag my dime piece, ARM, marking time at the Upper Hudson School for Wayward Boys and Girls, a.k.a. USMA. Oops. Douchebag. That's the United States Marine Academy, I guess, or Military Academy. Can I get a quick dedouching? Quick snippets of DJT's aroused, and the health lady talking about balls. Yes. Bo Jiden, holy crap. Hold on a second. I wasn't quite prepared for this. Bo Jiden, and what is what do we have? The last one. Jobs karma for all the unfortunates out there who had theirs swept away in a tidal wave of misinformation and fear-mongering. Keep up the great work. You're 1/8 of the way to 10,000. Oh, yes. We feel that it's within reach. Can't wait to grab that mystical 10,000 brass ring. Thank you and welcome, citizen. It's good to have you here, Jim.
It was hard to get it aroused, and it is hard to get it aroused, but we got it aroused.
You can kick their balls, but you can't touch them.
You've got karma.
Stuff writes itself.
It does. That's why people don't understand what we do here. How do you?
In Veldhouse, Iowa. Veldhouse, Iowa. Derek C. $333.33.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And he also is a Rogan crossover.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for the quality content. I need a dedouching.
You got it.
You've been dedouched.
He wants also a goat karma and Amy's pretty good and a job karma for Amy. Anyway, he says you've helped me remove what was left of my blindfold. Thanks, Derek.
Oh, nice. And I'm going to add the Don't Eat Me Bo Jiden for Jim, which I forgot.
Don't eat me, Bo Jiden. You're scary. So scary.
I think that sounds pretty good.
Jobs, and jobs. Let's vote for jobs.
You've got karma.
Yeah, Black Knight era Didarians and Trabuco Canyon, California, $250. Thank you for the normal-sized amygdala. No jingles, no karma, Black Knight era. Okay.
No, he does it so well. We love that. Thank you.
More of those. And we need more of these. This is in 230. And by the way, Black Knight era Didarian is 250. The Anonymous is 234.56 or 234.56, and it's in New York. And he says, no jingles, no karma. Make this an anonymous donation. It will spare you from pronouncing my name. Subtle insults are always appreciated.
Yes, we love them.
Jim Bennett in Toronto, Ontario, 214.20. In perpetually letting people take more and more of your liberty, you can't complain when they won't stop. Go back to sleep. In tuning into no agenda and then delaying and ultimately not donating, you are also falling asleep. If you listen, you owe. Wake up. There's nothing worse than a freeloader. Meanwhile, here in Toronto, insanity persists. Our police chief of the fourth largest municipal police force in North America just resigned after taking a knee with protesters.
Yeah.
We have suffered just 950 COVID deaths within our population of over 6 million, with 800 of those deaths linked to long-term care homes. And still no one can cut their hair.
And by the way, those nursing home deaths may be phony. It may be a fraction, maybe a tenth from what we're learning now.
The whole thing may be 950 COVID deaths, maybe 95.
Yeah, could be.
And within the media, CBC News editor-in-chief Brody Fenton issued an apology, claiming that a clip that aired of police vehicles driving into crowds in New York was poorly worded. By the way, this is a story that's got nothing to do with Canada. Poorly worded. Whoops, I'm sorry. No, I hit the scroll button and went off. Driving in the crowds, and it was poorly worded and mischaracterized the events, framing them mostly from the perspective of the police. And that CBC News improved the language, quote unquote, and rebroadcast the clip only to find that we were an international meme and proof of the media's complicity with police. One need only live in Scandinavia or search the terms CBC and police violence to know that the claim of CBC being in cahoots with the cops is beyond laughable. As a result of this incident, the CBC is now making wholesale changes to the way they report the news. Noodle Boy strikes again. We look forward to that with the same anticipation that we would look forward to a quadruple root canal. No jingles, no karma. That's kind of pathetic.
What? No jingles, no karma?
No, that's not pathetic. That's fantastic. It's kind of pathetic. The CBC is knuckling under for their reporting.
It's not surprising. Not surprising.
Oh, I can't. This is like a generation of people with no backbone.
Noodles. That exactly. A noodle is limp.
I think the noodles on both sides here.
Well, it's Noodle Nation. Oh, another good one.
Noodle Nation. Write that one down.
Whoa. Hold on. Do not move. Read the next note.
Wait a minute.
I hope I'm fast enough. Oh,
all right, here we go.
Yeah, okay.
Kevin Ramos in Palo Alto, $201. Wells Fargo finally, he says, fixed the issue preventing PayPal from accepting my donations to the show. I see my email on June 7th for the message that I intended for the June 4th, 2020 episode. Why don't you just paste it in here? By the way, I will say this. I would like to caution people because this has happened before. It happened recently with the woman that was stuck in the vortex. Don't have us refer to old messages. Put the message in this box. You just wrote a message, add the old message to it if you want it read. So I have to go dig around my email. There's a mess in that email box. It's like going into a swamp.
Noodle Nation.
I'll go look.
NoodleNation.com was already registered, damn it.
Sir Scatman of Norristown in Kalamazoo, Michigan, probably part of Local 1, $200.69. I'd hope so. Please credit this donation. No, he's in Philly Local 76. We have a very successful meetup with 8 producers in attendance. Multiple Karen donations make up the associate executive producership. I'd like to thank this is a joint donation. The Millers, the Fries, the Evan Mitzes, Sir Abel Kirby, and my brother Jared for the fantastic discussions, donations, and sane company around a goat jobs karma for the group would be great. Can you please play Nothing Like a Dame featuring the one and only Sir Abel Kirby of the Fighter Flight for Mrs. Wen Miller as she is about to join the ranks very soon. Adios, mofos. Sir Scatman of Norristown.
There is nothing like a dame, nothing in the world. Gitmo Nation will acclaim there ain't anything like a dame.
We need more dames. Bring them on.
Jobs, and jobs. Let's vote for jobs. You've got karma.
Booms.
Michael Bernstein, parts unknown, $200.33. We're wrapping this up. Due to your continued anti-growth amygdala content, I did not panic during the M5N corona coverage and stayed the course. Building of the mutualwin.com luxury tiny home community. Yes, very interesting. People should look at that site, mutualwin.com, WIN. Continuing, and his very first luxury tiny home will be completed July 1st. The highly efficient tiny home design was identified as potentially perfect for homeless military veterans, and so I have partnered with a nonprofit to make this a reality. Adam spoke so highly of the Fishes and Loaves community in Austin.
Mobile Loaves and Fishes is what it is.
I am flying to visit the community next Friday. Hey, how about that?
Oh.
June 19th for a tour. Since it is not a show day, maybe Adam would be interested in joining me. I'd like a goat scream karma for my project, mutualwin.com. Luxury tiny homes. The donation should be appointed to my fantastic and erudite father, who reaches the $1,000 mark and becomes a knight, Sir Alan Bernstein. He should also be on the birthday list. He's on the birthday list. He turns 72 on June 22nd, and I guess he's on the knighting list.
Yes, he is.
Eric Popoff's next on the list.
Hold on. He asked me.
I'm sorry. You forgot the jingles.
I didn't forget him. What did he want? It was just the goat scream karma. Okay. And hit me up on email. I'd love to go. It's a visit is long overdue.
You've got karma.
Eric Popoff, $200. ITM, I'm a John C. douchebag that came over from the Twitch show long ago, and I've never donated. Come on, you twit douches. We can outdo their JRE newbies. I want to call out 2 other douchebags that I punched in the mouth a long time ago and have never donated.
Okay.
Quang.
Douchebag.
And Ryan.
Douchebag.
You know who you are. Your show literally makes it possible to listen to the news again because you make us all laugh. Thank you from Eric Popoff.
All right, Eric. Thank you very much. And good to have you here. Good to have you in the Value for Value network.
Gail Fuller is the last donor. Dame Twinominator in Cumming, Georgia. 200. My fantastically fun and still smoking hot husband, Scott, I have no idea what his night name is, allocated his donation last month to make me a dame. So it's time for me to donate as well. Thank you for the amazing content that keeps us both sane. Jobs, karma, and birthday wishes for Scott, please. Gail, a.k.a. Dame Twinominator.
Jobs, 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 and jobs. Let's vote for jobs.
You've got karma.
Nice notes. I like them. They're not, they're nice notes, not too long, which is always good. It's always nice.
It's good.
It's pretty good, actually. And I want to thank Cal from lavenderblossoms.org for the shipment that I received. Did you get one of these shipments from Cal? One of these, like a massive thing of everything?
No.
You got to go to the P.O. box just to make sure.
I just went yesterday.
Oh, Well, I went to the P.O. box and I got something from Don over at Laser Crafters. And it's a no agenda sign, but it's etched in glass, and you put it into the base, and it lights up in colors.
Wow!
So it's a real wow item. I'll post a picture of it. You know what it is? Like, you've seen these. I think ham radio guys have a lot of them with their call sign, and because there's little LEDs in the base of this that you slide this pane of glass into, it just projects the light right up to it. And it can change colors, all kinds of stuff. It's really pretty. It's my favorite No Agenda logo, too. It's the favorite logo, the one with the cross, the 33s, and all the Illuminati kind of stuff on it.
Oh, the crazy one that's on the mugs.
Yes, on the mugs and the T-shirts. So it's lasercraftersllc.com. You can take a look at what he's doing, and I really appreciate that from both of you. And thank you to our executive producers and associate executive producers for episode 1,250. That's right. Only 7/8 more to go until the big 10,000, everybody. I think I'll be 120 by then, so we may get not so close. These credits are real.
Well, if we changed to twice a day.
Oh, then it would work, yeah. Or you mean like 4 times a week?
No, twice a day.
Twice a day?
10 shows a week.
Okay. No, not going to happen. Sorry. When you said
Just
that.
for the numbers. Think of the children.
I'm not thinking of anything but my sanity. No. I appreciate the notes most of all that people are sending. And again, we have some really nice ones here. And I love seeing all these new producers who come in from all over the place. Clearly, the Value for Value Network is doing something that provides value to a lot of people. And that's how this works. We don't tell you what to do. You can contribute in many ways. We talked about the art. We have jingles, songs, parodies, information, news, people doing clips. It's all over the place. And we are all producers of the best podcast in the universe. The executive producers and associate executive producers can proudly display that title anywhere where titles are recognized. You'd be surprised how often that is the case and how many people like it. And we will return again on Sunday. Please support us by going to
Dvorak.org/NA.
I think they're pretty well up to speed on all things BMF.
Our formula is this. We go out, we hit people in the mouth.
Order.
Shut up, slave.
Shut up, slave.
I have a short little clip I want to play.
All right.
Which might lead us into the Kaylee clips.
Okay.
For reasons that are not necessarily identifiable immediately. But this is Thomas Sowell. He's the black intellectual book writer, does a lot of stuff. He was on the Rubin Report.
I saw this. And it was excellent interview.
It was quite good. But I thought the most poignant things was this particular small little clip.
You were a Marxist at one time in your life. Most people will find this hard to believe, but it is true.
But it's not that unusual. Most of the leading conservative thinkers of our time did not start off as conservative. You had a couple like Bill Buckley and George Will. But I mean, Milton Friedman was a liberal and a Keynesian. Hayek was a socialist. Ronald Reagan was so far left, at one point the FBI was following him.
So then what was your wake-up to what was wrong with that line of thinking?
Facts.
That's good. Was that? I saw it, but was that a recent one? I think so, right?
I think so, yeah.
I think it was recent. Yeah. Yeah, Rubin's got his shit together.
They had a punchline. Very few of these clips.
You accentuated it. That was even better.
So yeah, let's look at what Kaylee's up to. Our press secretary, I guess is what you call it. And she was in a good mood, slamming people left and right. Just a little taste of it here is let's play Kaylee fourth time.
Does
the president believe there's a problem with institutional racism in this country and institutional racism in law enforcement?
Look, I've answered this question. I think this is the fourth time I've been asked it. And
whoa, you got butt slammed!
Well, yeah, we have the answer to that. We heard it earlier from, or at least an answer from Ben Woodson.
Yeah, well, Woodson has the right answer. So this is John Carl trying to make trouble. So he comes back after she butt slams him, and he asks again, because it makes it the fifth time. But this time, so what I've noticed her formula is that you keep asking her the same question. Her final answer is always going to be some Joe Biden slam.
Okay,
it's always, and it is a formula. I'm going to prove it with this.
That's what you want to do, though, isn't it? I mean, that everything on the other side is Trump, orange man bad.
It's like it's like training a dog. So here she is. This is the second part of that clip. This is Kaylee slams John Carl again.
The reason why I'm asking it now is, does he believe that action needs to be taken to fundamentally change the way law enforcement is done in this country, to make fundamental changes so that there isn't the kind of disparities that we see along racial lines?
Well, the president's looking at various proposals, and I would say this president has done a whole lot more than Democrats have ever done when it comes to rectifying injustices, where you had the crime bill of the 90s, which created great racial disparities in our justice system, and President Trump rectified some of those with the First Step Act. So President Trump's about action, and he's shown that, and he recognizes injustices and acts promptly when he sees them.
Butt slam!
Is there no one home? Did you have extra time this week?
If I start early, you're going to get these. So now I have a three-parter, and this is the final report here. And it's exactly the same process.
Yeah.
And now they're harassing her about the changing of the names of these forts. And she started off the press conference saying, look, a bunch of people want to change the name of any fort, that has any name, that has any, just hell with history and everything else. We want these, they're just pushing people around. Again, like you said earlier in the show, these guys get a little power, and the Noodle boys get a little power, and they take over the place, and it never ends. You give them an inch, they take a mile. So let's play this is part one. This is the finale, part one, and this is kind of how it starts.
Congress to send over, say, the defense authorization
with language that were to rename one of these bases for someone who, say, was a general who won the Civil War, would the president veto the defense authorization?
The president will not be signing legislation that renames America's forts. It's important to note, Fort Bragg, for example, it's one of the largest military installations. It's home to tens of thousands of brave American soldiers. And when you think of Fort Bragg, we think of the brave soldiers that deployed from there. We think of all 5 World War II airborne divisions, the 82nd, the 101st, the 11th, the 13th, and the 17th, all trained at Fort Bragg. The 555th Parachute Infantry Battalion, this was the first black parachute battalion trained at this fort. We must recognize the sacrifices made by these men and women, some of whom saw Fort Bragg for the last time before they went overseas. We've got to think of the Fort Bragg soldiers that have led humanitarian operations like in Hurricane Katrina and the earthquake in Haiti. We've got to honor what has happened there, not rename it. So that is an absolute non-starter for the president.
I've received several notes from military personnel who say that if this happens, they will throw their medals out. They will send them back to D.C. That's how important it is to them.
That's good to know. Well, was it apparent they should send their medals to Petraeus? He's the one causing the trouble. Now, I don't know who's telling him to do this.
Wait a minute, Petraeus?
Yeah.
How does?
Well, you did. Are you going to miss? Okay, well, clip 2 kind of explains it. Now, this is where she's been hounded the whole press conference about this. What if it's accidental? What if somebody just puts a sign up? What if somebody slips it in as a writer? And on and on. And so now we have one of our top correspondents there sitting in the audience without his mask on, asking this.
John. One more question on that. General David Petraeus is one of those people who went through Fort Bragg a number of times, even though his first command was at Fort Campbell, Kentucky. He penned a quite lengthy and detailed editorial about the reasons why those bases should be renamed, saying it's ironic that American soldiers and Marines are being trained at bases named for people who fought against the Union back in the Civil War, that many of the people for whom these bases are named were leaders held in questionable regard, but who were elevated during the Lost Cause movement. He goes on to say, we do not live in a country to which Braxton Bragg, Henry L. Bang, or Robert E. Lee can serve as an inspiration. What does the White House say to that?
Okay. I didn't know about the Petraeus. I didn't know about that.
So that is, by the way, that question is a minute and 14. Where's the question? Oh, okay. The question was 41 seconds. Okay, so she's finally fed up, and this is where she will pull the Biden card at the end and close the book and walk off on the things. And they go, and they're all begging her, especially John Carl. You can hear his voice very distinctively begging her to stay, and she's had it. And so here we go.
What does the White House say to that particular point
Fort
of view?
Bragg is known for the heroes within it that trained there, that deployed from there. And it's an insult to say to the men and women who left there, the last thing they saw on American soil before going overseas, and in some cases losing their lives, to tell them that what they left was inherently a racist institution because of a name. That's unacceptable to the president, and rightfully so. And I would also note, where do you draw the line here? I'm told that no longer can you find on HBO Gone with the Wind because somehow that is now offensive. Where do you draw the line? Should George Washington and Thomas Jefferson and James Madison be erased from history? What about FDR and because of internment camps? Should he be erased from history, or Lyndon Johnson, who has a history of documented racist statements? And finally, what about people that are alleged by the media to be segregationists? NBC tells us Joe Biden didn't just compromise with segregationists. He fought for their causes in schools, experts say. CNN tells us letters from Joe Biden reveal how he sought support of segregationists in the fight against busing. Washington Post tells us that Biden's tough talk on 1970s schools desegregation plans could get him new scrutiny. And there are several more where that came from. So I'll leave you with the question, should we then rename the Biden Welcome Center? Thanks very much, guys.
Butt Slam!
One quick follow-up on
Yeah.
Should we rename the Biden Welcome Center is what she says. That's the question she leaves them with. So she leaves them with a question to answer. Should we rename and her point is actually pretty well taken because we're dealing with Fort Bragg, which is a general in the 1840s, most known for his fighting in the Mexican-American War, and a North Carolina general, and that's where the fort is. And so if we're going to go back and condemn people from the 1800s, why don't we condemn people from the 1970s? Joe Biden would be the example that she's using. And he was called out by Kamala Harris in the debates for the exact same thing. And they say, oh, it's so long ago. I don't know. I can barely remember that far back.
Ooh.
So she is, if they're going to keep doing this, she's going to keep doing the counteraction. And she's better at it than they are. And she can walk out.
That was a good little series. I like that. And please continue on this Kaylee beat.
I got the Kaylee beat.
I do like the Kaylee beat. Well, speaking of Kamala Harris, she is still according to the numbers in the newsletter, she's still the number one according to the odds of the bookies becoming the VP selection. She weighed in on the Los Angeles mayor who wants to defund the police.
So does that mean you support proposals like what we've seen in Los Angeles, Mayor Eric Garcetti saying, take some of the money from policing, about $150 million, invest it in health initiatives, training initiatives for youth?
I support investing in communities so that they become more healthy and therefore more safe. Right now, what we're seeing in America is many cities spend over 1/3 of their entire city budget on policing. But meanwhile, we've been defunding public schools for years in America. We've got to re-examine what we're doing with American taxpayer dollars and ask the question, are we getting the right return on our investment? Are we actually creating healthy and safe communities? And that's a legitimate conversation, and it requires a really critical evaluation. I applaud Eric Garcetti for doing what he's done.
Oh, yes. She's.
You know, did she talk about the fact that California, which has some of the worst schools in the whole country, it spends the most per pupil? Did she mention this or talk about any of these kinds of expenses we're already spending on per pupil, per education systems in California? She talk about that because she's in California. She's California. She should know that. She should be talking about it. Did she say anything?
You should post those questions on Twitter. You might get some fun. Might meet some new friends.
I'm just wondering.
Sheila Jackson.
I thought you might have a clip.
No. It's Good Morning America with the Clinton insider Stephanopoulos. There's no further questions, please. Sheila Jackson Lee, though, our representative in Texas, she had a little segment here where the truth wanted to come out. She used, I heard this in the car. And I heard, I got to make sure I get that on record.
Thank you for having me. As you have noted, the most important focus for me over these last couple of weeks and certainly decades dealing with police reform is now today George Floyd, who should not have died on the streets of America. The stain of racism, but also the crisis of police actions really warrant, which is what we heard in the hearing today, really warrant catastrophic change.
Catastrophic change. I've heard of a lot of things, but catastrophic change doesn't bode well.
Catastrophic change.
I mean, maybe she meant something else, but the truth wants to come out.
What word could it have been?
She meant catastrophic change, which is going to be catastrophic.
Said catastrophic change.
Really warrant catastrophic change, and that is all we're talking about. We're saying
that's all we're talking about. I love how she. And by the way, that's all we're talking about. There's nothing big here, just catastrophic change.
Catastrophic change, and that is all we're talking about. We're saying to the marchers and the protesters, the black and brown and white and Asian young people, that we hear their cry. They are collectively raising their voices, Andrea, and saying Black Lives Matter. So the emotion is palpable. It is still there. Yesterday, when I spoke to the family. I indicated that the murder of George.
This is another thing that bothers me. And I mean, it's okay. I mean, we all saw it. There was not a pretty situation how Floyd's life was ended, but it would be technically correct, and maybe at least for Andrea Mitchell to say alleged murder. Don't you think?
Yeah.
It has.
And if you're a journalist, that's what you'd always use to do it automatically. People, in fact, they got to the point now where they're saying it when the word's not necessary.
Well, it's just a minor point. I'm sure it will come out as murder, but you kind of have to say alleged or whatever. You can say a lot of things, but
I think you could be canceled for saying alleged murder in this case.
Not if you're Sheila Jackson Lee. You can't.
Oh no, she's uncancelable.
Today, when I spoke to the.
That, by the way, I disagree with. Once the Noodle kids have the gun focused and they got some rigidity in that flaccid Noodle gun of theirs, be careful.
Yesterday, when I spoke totally to the family, I indicated that the murder of George Floyd cannot go in vain. It is a sacrifice that they will now have to bear their entire lives.
People are innocent until alleged to be involved in some type of criminal activity.
Okay. No, I forgot.
Yeah,
I forgot the law.
Definitely play that clip.
Forgot the law. I forgot Brennan's law of innocent until proven guilty, which is not the case. This is the former CIA chief, for those who are new to the show, John Brennan, and he feels that when it comes to not guilty or guilty,
people are innocent until alleged to be involved in some type of criminal activity.
You're not guilty until you're alleged to be involved. That's on your system. That's how it works.
As an aside,
yes.
I have an ISO proposal.
Okay, I don't think I have any ISO, so I'm very
that's what I figured. I was
curious.
Looking.
What you got?
It's the one I sent in the bonus
yes,
pack.
I have it here.
Enough is enough.
It's perfect. Who is that, by the way?
It's one of the actresses in that stream of
the Hollywood stuff.
The Hollywood guys.
Yeah. Enough is enough.
I'd like to identify a couple of them because they're the most arrogant. They're the ones that they're.
Yes.
Against hate unless you hate Trump. Hating Trump is okay. Hating Republicans is okay. Yeah. Hating conservatives is okay. But other than that, no hate. Yeah. Love.
Yes.
Okay, I do have a little rant if you have a minute.
I have more than a minute for you.
Okay, let's play a Democracy Now! A clip about some of the statues coming down and discuss one element of this.
Let's see. Statues.
This is Chris Columbus.
Ooh, good old Chris.
Protests against racism and police brutality continue to rock cities and towns across the United States and around the world. In Richmond, Virginia, protesters toppled a statue of Christopher Columbus on Tuesday evening. They set it on fire before throwing it in a nearby lake. In Antwerp, Belgium, city officials removed a statue of King Leopold II Tuesday, just days after protesters set it on fire. From 1885 to 1908, Leopold declared himself absolute ruler of Congo, leading a campaign of torture and genocide that killed an estimated 10 million people.
And I believe that to be true.
Of course you do.
Is it not true? That's what I was taught when I lived in Belgium.
Let's look at some of the facts. This is also stated in the Encyclopedia Britannica. Apparently, he killed 10 million and left a nation. It was a nation of 20 million. And he killed 10 of them.
I know that it was pretty bad. I know that Congo was bad, and I know King Leopold was a part of it. But
yeah, it's all Leopold's fault. Now, let me just ask you a couple of questions.
Uh-oh.
Since you're on that side of the argument, because you've heard it and probably taught you that in school.
I'm not on any side. I'm just
you take the side. Take the side.
Okay, I'll take it.
Okay, so let's see. They broke off the ruling of Belgium. I think 1908, 1910, something. In the period, let's say, they were out of the Congo by 1920.
Okay.
Now, if they had Leopold had killed 10 million, and the Encyclopedia Britannica mentioned he either killed everybody but he killed 10 million, and Amy said 10 million, you've heard 10 million. The Britannica says 10 million, leaving a population of
10 million.
10 million. So they had 20 million people living in the Congo in the 1800s.
That's a lot of people.
Seems like it, because let me point out it's real facts, because they've done studies. Real demographers have come in since World War II, and they have followed the population of Congo. And it's the exact same place that Leopold ruled, where he killed 10 million. So in 1955, the population of the Congo was under 1 million. So,
yeah.
Today's population is 5.5 million, and the population growth in the Congo from 1955, where there's about 800,000, to today's a slow growth. So from 1910, 1920, within 40 years, the 9 or 10 million people that were supposedly left over after he killed 10 million, they died off, and 9 million of them died off of what? When did this huge die-off happen? So you'd have a population in the Congo of, let's say, about 800,000 in 1955. What happened to those 9 million plus people?
Ebola?
There was no Ebola then.
You're asking me. I don't know.
It's bullshit. It's a lie. He didn't kill 10 million because there weren't 10 million people to kill. In the entire continent, there was only 100 million at the time.
Interesting.
So how you kill 10% of all the Africans in Africa? How do you get away with killing 10 million? Why do people suck this 10 million number up when it's not even possible if the population of Congo is less than 1 million in 1955? And it's only 5.5 million today. And it's the exact same Congo where he killed 10 million. This is a lie and is bullshit. And it got me to the following conclusions. You read like, the problem with the education system is they only study European history. That's because that's the only history that's been recorded. There's some Chinese history, but most deep recording of history was done in Western civilization. Ptolemy back, 2,000 years of writings about history. And the idea of studying history is so you can understand the movement of history, not so you can understand the peoples, because it's not about you. It's about the way civilizations work. You're not reading history or trying to understand these things because it's about blacks or Chinese or whites. It's so you can understand the flow of history. You can't do that with Africa because there's no flow of history, because there's no written history except for what the Romans did in northern Africa, and that's just a bit of Africa. So the reason you want to study African history is the same reason you can throw out this bullshit 10 million killed by Leopold, which they tore his statue down over it, because you can lie to the students with made up facts and turn them against Western civilization and make them socialist globalists. This is nonsense. This whole thing is a scam, and that 10 million number bugs me to no end, and it's a lie and should be rebuked.
John C. Dvorak's pet peeve of the day.
Exactly.
Wikipedia actually says 10 to 15 million.
What happened to all the leftover people? You can look at the modern demographics and back it up. It starts today with 5.5 million. How did it get to 15 million dead? It's bullshit. It's a blatant lie.
Okay,
and it's designed to make you feel bad because,
excellent.
You killed all these people.
All right.
And it's your fault, Whitey.
So, well, I have homework for you then. I really like this. Next, I would like you to deconstruct 6 million Jews in the Holocaust. Go.
Actually, that's another thing.
I'm
thinking this. Hold on a second.
Third rail.
No, I'm going to go to the third rail for this reason. The idea behind the 10 million dead Congolese, or 15, is to diminish the Holocaust because it's also anti-Semitic, anti-Jewish bullshit.
Yep.
So you can diminish the Holocaust by making these phony baloney massacres that never took place look bigger. In the 1800s and early 1900s, which wasn't even possible, and the population doesn't support it. But you can throw these numbers out there, make people believe it. You believed it. You heard it when you were a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact, because you know about Leopold, because you were raised in Holland.
Yeah.
And they talk about this stuff. And everybody in Holland probably thinks he killed 10 million. This is to make the Jewish Holocaust look minor by comparison. It's a lie.
I'm actually looking this up in Dutch now. I just want to see if I can find any numbers. I don't want a Wikipedia because that would just be a direct translation.
Well, I got it out of the Britannica backs this up, saying they killed 10 million and left 10 million, which somehow those 10 million disappeared by 1955 some magic way. So this is really a scheme, and it's bad, and it's dangerous, and this is the kind of rewriting history. But they can do it in areas that really aren't that documented. Africa's not well documented. They had a lot of civilizations here and there. Sure they did, but they're not documented.
But what's interesting is that, and I like your assertion that this has been, now, of course, the lie has been there for a long time. I don't remember growing up learning 10 million. I don't know if I had a number, but millions, absolutely millions. So it's not like that lie is, it predates Black Lives Matter, etc. But it's certainly being brought back now, and a number's being put on it, and then subsequently the statue goes down, gets taken down. Very interesting that it's meant to look bigger than the Holocaust, than the Jews. That's and you know what? It doesn't surprise me. It does not surprise me at all. How cynical are these fucks?
It's out of control.
It truly
a lot of
is.
it's not cynicism. It's that they just believe things at face value. Somebody says it. Oh, 10 million. Leopold killed 10 million. Oh, he did? Huh. Okay, wow. He killed 10 million. What a bad prick that guy must be. Yeah. Pull his statue down.
Well, but
the guy was a jerk. It's pretty obvious if you read anything about him. But this is not right. This is nonsense. He's worse than Hitler? Really?
Yeah, well done. Well, as you say. By the way, just hanging in Europe, do you know that the European Union still has not figured out an economic proposal for corona salvage? Can you believe that? We're 3 months. We have spent saved $8 trillion. They're still talking.
Yeah, they're terrible at this.
They're still talking.
We saw this after the 2008 collapse.
Same. Well, and that's really when they lost. Remember, the former New York banker would say, "We beat them. The European banks are dead. We own them. We own all of it," or something to that. We won the war was the idea. We won the banking war, and he got out of banking because it was boring from that point on. There was no fight. There's nothing, now it's all just, simple. Now it's just running the money. Nothing, no big gambits to do because they're broke. It's very, very odd how they're going to make out with that.
Not good.
I just want to, since we're just move kind of to Europe for a second, one quick note from one of our producers, Anonymous, about the national health system in the UK, which is touted as the crown jewel to be protected at all times. Trump is going to steal it. Brexit's going to steal it. Everyone wants to steal save the NHS. That was one of the slogans. Save the national health system. Save the NHS in the lockdown. Wear a mask. Shut up. Stay at home. Save the NHS. Not save lives. Save the NHS. Hey, Adam, says our anonymous producer, want to give you a personal account of the struggles here in the UK lockdown. My husband has been waiting for major heart surgery to fix the ticking time bomb in his chest. Naturally, this has been delayed indefinitely because of Wuhan flu, but he's still on the list. He's been on that for over a year. He was instructed to get a dental check before surgery to make sure there's no infections. All dentists in Cornwall are not accepting new patients. So no surgery on his enlarged, regurgitating heart and valve defects. No dentist. My teeth are deteriorating. I cannot get a dentist either. I received a letter from my doctor today stating that I cannot see ADHD specialists because they are not accepting new patients. What the fuck does mental health have to do with COVID? On top of that, government literature in the UK has stressed that mental health services will still be available. It's bullshit. The cherry on top is our appointment with the surgeon at the beginning of the pandemic. One doctor wouldn't shake our hands, which was okay. The other doctor, an Indian who did a blood draw on my husband, did not wear gloves while inserting and removing the needle from his arm. I was livid. Funny, though, I noticed most NHS doctor deaths from COVID were Indian. Not to be racist, but color me unsurprised. On June 15th, apparently the lockdown eases up for real. Our local high street will be closed on June 15th for a couple more weeks. The closure sign says, "Street closed for shopping." No businesses are open. Nobody has any money. But please, citizens, spend what little you have left by standing in line in the rain outside due to store quantity limits. Effing hell and F the NHS. And just so you know, it's not just us. Every country has these issues. And these are the hidden victims of the scam that was pulled on us. And we were careful not to call it a scam. Even when Trump was saying it was a Democrat hoax, we were very careful not to go down that road.
Well, we do know a virus exists.
Yes, the virus exists.
So that's not a scam. But it's the way that it was handled.
That's the scam.
Purposefulness, the way it was done to it was all, I hate to be I'm the cynic. This is just all about Trump. This was an international effort to sink the world's economy so they can get Trump and these other populists out. Who else is mentioned constantly? I don't have a clip, but I could play any clip from Amy Goodman on Brazil. And it's never the guy that runs Brazil, Bolsonaro. It's the right-wing leader. She always puts that in front of everything. I'm surprised they don't do that with Trump. Right-wing president, Donald Trump.
Yeah, well, yeah, you're right. I don't know why they don't do that. They should add that. That would be smart. That would be smart to get people even more hating the Republicans more. Republican Party leader and right-winger, alt-right, Nazi quadroon KKK member, Donald Trump. Something like that.
Orange man bad.
I'm going to show my support by donating to No Agenda. Imagine all the people who could do that. Oh yeah, that'd be fab. Yeah, on No Agenda. In the morning.
Yeah, and we do have a few people to thank for show 1250.
1250. That's right, 1250.
Starting with Peter Melancelli in Edmonton, Alberta, 160. And he sent a note in by... Oh, I didn't see your note, but that's okay. You just want to get the readout. Russell Davidson in Fort Collins, Colorado, 133.33. Christopher Kessler in Marshfield, Wisconsin, 125. Squire Desert Finn in Madison, Alabama. He says, shout out to my perfectly passionate, playful paratrooper wife.
It's a beautiful thing.
Huh. Something paratrooper. That's interesting. Something sexy about that. Squire Desert Finn, L. Leibel in Newark, Delaware. Ron Van Dyke in Holland, 100. These are 100. L's 100. Rob's 100. Larmo in Waterbury, Connecticut, 100. Larmo sent a note, which I do want to read. And it was in a letter that was written by and mailed.
Oh.
I've been a fan of No Agenda from the early days. I made a donation. I gave up on John's newsletter list due to his leaving me off of it.
What?
It probably has something to do with his quote-unquote system. Anyways, you guys have done a superlative job deconstructing that. I'll tell you one of the things deconstructing that we have to get rid of Trump at any cost news reports. Even when the BBC is reporting on President Trump, they use derogatory terms like he didn't walk up to the podium. He slithered up to the podium. You get the idea. I try to hit people close to me in the mouth, but it's a matter of taste, and people have their daily routines. I would like to give a shout out to Bill and Lady J at Boyden Station East, please. He wants some clips we'll maybe use at the end. We'll give him a karma at the end. Anyway, I got a couple of things that MailChimp, it's not me, it's MailChimp. MailChimp will not use, it looks for dubious first name, your email says your name, you're like Adam at curry.com.
Right.
And some people like to code their mail. So if you put newsletter at curry.com when you subscribe to the newsletter, you'll be kicked off.
Oh, really?
Yeah. If they see anything that hints at using coded emails like that are really obvious, they will kick. It just automatically gets deleted.
What is the thinking? What is the thinking behind it? Why? I don't understand.
I don't know. I have no idea, actually. I mean, I thought I should know. I'm the big email or the mailing list expert, and there's probably some reason for it, but I don't know what it is. I'm sure there's a reason that they can explain.
How about this as a reason? MailChimp sells data based upon what people are opening, and if people have one email account for an email list, that's not very handy for MailChimp to sell your data. Just thinking. I'm out loud. I have no idea if it's true.
I can't imagine anyone would even do that.
Aye, that's right.
David Wright's next on the list, 7777 in Harrison, Arkansas. Sir Got Nate in Sebastopol, 6996. Sir Data Ops, the Wisconsin Millennial, in Edgerton, Wisconsin, 6988. Got a birthday coming up, or somebody's birthday. Joseph Monaco, 69. The Barrister of Baltimore, in Baltimore, 69. Riley Fettig in Bloomington, Indiana, 6771. He's got a call out.
Let's see. I have dedouching, please.
You've been dedouched.
Call Sir Patrick Comer out as a douchebag. Well, he's a sir.
Yeah, why are you calling him out as a douchebag?
I haven't heard him donate in a while. No.
Oh, he says he may be a man overboard.
Well, I don't feel good about douching sirs without. Yeah,
well, you did it.
Anyway, 6771 is 1776 backwards for all of those who believe in America and deplore the destruction of our cities and monuments. Thanks for all the great content over the years. Content. That's what we make. We wake up and we make content. We're creators of content. Sounds so clinical.
Sir Tom Starkweather in Brooklyn, New York, 66.66.
One of our superstars, another end of show mix.
He's one of the guys who's a go-to. He's a go-to.
He also has another end of show mix, a good one for this show.
Trent Gilham, 6333. Sir Acid of the Scandinavian Woods, Curtis, Ontario, 5510. Double nickels on the dime for him. Sir Robert of the Sous Vide in Holland, Pennsylvania. Double nickels on the dime. Matthew Shower in Winthrop, Minnesota, 5510. Greg and Wendy Morrow in Mount Pleasant, South Carolina, 5510. Sir Tom Dari, 5510. Russell Seek, 5335. Drew Mochak.
Hold on. Russell has a request for dedouching.
You've been dedouched.
And if I may, Drew Mochak is the producer who said he was canceling his subscription. He did.
Drew Mochak over here in El Cerrito?
Yep. He did apologize that because I emailed him back. I said, this is not okay what you're saying here. This is simply not true. and then he comes back later and he says, well, yeah, I apologize. You were right. And he said, but I still think your reaction was unwarranted. So I didn't email it. I'm not replying. Like you jumped on my case. I said, no, you're wrong. And I said, what the hell are you new? What's going on here? And then he comes back. He says, well, I was wrong. But still has, I don't know, he's angry. I don't know what it is, but thank you for supporting us, Drew.
I remember that little moment, and your coming in was not, what was he said? He said you didn't like your reaction. Your reaction was almost offhanded. No, it wasn't like a reaction like one of my reactions.
No, it had nothing to do with the reaction. This was, you said at the opening of the show something about the agitator, that it got pushed down. And then I said, apparently the guy is some kind of, some kind of agitator and he had the fake blood. Apparently. I had no clip to back it up. I had nothing prepared. I'm responding to what you said.
Yeah, you were. Yeah,
he said, this is important. He said, I will never support the show again. I wish I could have canceled, but it just went through because as long as you don't vet your information and you are propagating fake news from Sputnik, because apparently the guy at One America News is also on the payroll at Sputnik. As long as you don't vet that, you're not worthy. I'm like, what the hell? What? But as often happens, this is my personal thing. I don't know if it's Drew's case. It's fine. Drew, by the way, we're okay. You know,
he's in the Bay Area. One thing.
Yeah, which is hard. It's very hard to be in the Bay Area.
And by the way, Drew, take a drive up and down San Pablo Avenue and ask yourself why half the buildings, like Pastime Hardware and places like that, are boarded up, even though there's never been even a march down San Pablo, but they're all freaked out by these people.
I don't even remember what I was going to say, but...
No, you were just blowing off steam, which is good.
No, but
It's annoying. I know what you mean.
No, but I will say in 8 out of 10 cases, because I said to him, because he said, I said, please give me your PayPal. I will send you your money right away. I will send it. I don't want, and the customer is right. You're angry at me, and even though here's the case, I said it 2 times. I said, please, I will send you the money back, which he didn't go for. But 8 or 9 times out of 10, when people email me, I try to figure it out. I say, here's what's going on. After 2 rounds of email, again, 80%. Oh man, my girlfriend left me. My dog died. I spilled my beer. I was drunk. Yeah. It happens a lot.
Girlfriend left me is a big problem.
Yeah, and dog died. It happens a lot.
Dog died, big problem.
It happens a lot. Anyway,
on most shows, though, and the other shows that compete with us, it's mostly when the cat dies.
Drew, your support is. I know you've been around for a long time, so your support is valued. And whatever's going on, I'm sorry that you got triggered by it, but I think we're clear now that it was just misunderstanding.
And onward with the other $50 donors.
Yes, please.
Name and location as appropriate. Starting with, hold on a second. Sir Haymoose of the Piedmont Province in Mooresville, North Carolina. Sir Big Papa Moose of the Ogallala Aquifer in Liberal, Kansas. Andrew, here's one for you. Andrew Shetch.
I would say Jetsy. It's probably
Shetsy.
Yeah, Cyprus. So that's probably Russian. Cyrus, Minnesota.
Cyrus, Minnesota.
No idea.
Okay, well, he can send us it. It's fun. It's a good name.
We need a pronunciation.
Stephen Schumacher, it's probably Schumacher in Xenia, Ohio. Kimberly Redmond in Toronto, Ontario. Robert Deckany in Fairfax, Virginia. We love Virginia.
We do.
John Roof in Wauseon, Ohio. Drew Mochak, the Mochaks in Mountain View, California.
Again?
Which is different than the Drew Mochak in El Cerrito.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
Oh crap! It might be the same. Might be different ones. Now I don't know.
It could have been the Mountain View Drew Mochak.
I may be wrong.
You chewed out poor Drew Mochak of El Cerrito.
Well, this will not stand. I didn't chew anyone out. I got chewed out.
Clayton Dunavant. Well, I'm sure you love the publicity.
Yeah.
Clayton Dunavant. Think of the coverage. Dunavant in Greenfield, Wisconsin. James Gillickson in York, South Carolina. Rosen Tochkoff in London, UK. Right, we need reports. Ryan Smith in Raleigh, North Carolina. Sir Brett Farrell in Oklahoma City. Jeffrey Zinneman in South Euclid, Ohio. A lot of 50s today. Kyle Meyer in Atlanta, Georgia. Many Czechs. These are all Czechs at the end. David Trotsky in Joliet, Illinois. Jason Daluzio in Chatsford, Pennsylvania, and Sir Brian Watson in Raleigh, North Carolina. And now I have to read the first names of the $49 donors of the special Karen donation. Anyone who donates $49 is a special Karen donor. If it goes down, we're going to stop it. Okay, here we go with the list. Ready?
Yep.
Aaron.
And that concludes our Karen list. I think it played out. I think it's done.
Really? One guy, Aaron?
May even be a gal for all we know.
Well,
Aaron with an E. I think Aaron with an E is usually.
Looks like a guy.
Oh, no, Aaron, double A. You're right. Oh, that's probably a guy. Yeah. That's it.
All right, well, that's the end of that promotion.
I'd like to thank all of these producers profusely for not just supporting the show, but giving us entertainment, too. When you're the only guy making the show, the 2 people who are making the show and doing all the talking, it's nice to hear the voices that come back. And this is, I think, an important part of our value for value segment and how we've built this podcast on rock and roll. I don't know why I said that. It just sounded right at the moment. We'd also like to thank everyone who supported us under the anonymity level of $50. A lot of you have subscriptions, and these are 33s a month, 11 a week. There's a whole bunch of them. You can find out all you need at the following web address.
Dvorak.org/NA.
And we will, of course, return on Sunday for more deconstruction. I look forward to it. Just remember us at Dvorak.org/NA.
It's a
is, we're 11 days into June. We do have a nice birthday list lined up for you. Producers around Gitmo Nation celebrating are, let's see, David Trotsky says happy birthday to his daughter Riza and his smoking hot wife Paulette, who celebrate on June 11th. Michael Bernstein, happy birthday to his father Alan, 72 on June 22nd in advance. Sir Data Ops, the Wisconsin millennial, celebrated on June 9th. Dame Twin Nominator, happy birthday to her smoking hot husband Scott. And Squire Desert Finn says happy birthday to his wife, who turned 48 on June 6th. And finally, we have David Wright saying happy birthday to Sir Burgess of the Ozarks. Happy birthday from everybody here at the best podcast in the universe.
It's your birthday, yeah.
Now, let me see. Just want to make sure. I guess that is correct. Yes, David Wright. But David Wright, he's on the birthday list. I have a feeling that it's his birthday, but isn't he also being knighted today?
I don't know.
I think so.
David Wright. Where was he on the donation pile? Top, bottom, middle?
I don't know. I just got it from the back office.
I think you're mixing it with Michael Bernstein, maybe?
Oh, that could be why I'm confused. Okay. I just hate it when we mess stuff up because it takes so much to go back and
make goods are okay.
We do have 2 nights then in this case. It is kind of confusing. 2 nights in this case. So what I need is, there we go. I got some sorted.
I got the big boy.
That's what she said. Tyler Staud, Alan Bernstein, both of you step up here. Please join us at the round table of the No Agenda Knights and Dames. We do have a seat reserved for you thanks to your support of the No Agenda Show in the amount of $1,000 or more. I'm proud, I tell you, to pronounceate thee, Sir Senpai and Sir Alan Bernstein, both of you now Knights of the No Agenda Round Table. For you, we have Hookers and Blow, Rent Boys and Chardonnay, Anime Wrapped Glocks. It's a fan favorite. Horsehead Pumpkin Ale, Cold Brew Coffee and Cannabis, Dr. Pepper, and a quick handy kebab and Persian wine, pinball and power chords, Harleys and Haldol, bong hits and bourbon, vodka and vanilla, sparkling cider and escorts, ginger ale and gerbils, and of course, we all know what you're going for. You're going for the mutton and mead, and you can get that, your own personalized mutton and mead, if you go to noagendanation.com/rings. Eric the Shill will hook you up as soon as possible, get that out to you. And again, thank you for supporting No Agenda. Remember us at dvorak.org/NA.
No Agenda Meetups.
All right, here's an overview of the meetups. We do have meetups coming back in full force. This is where you can go hang out with No Agenda producers. They are organized locally by producers around Gitmo Nation, which is the world, for those of you who are new. NoAgendaMeetups.com is where you can find information, where to RSVP, and also reports. The Austin 512 local has some good pictures up if you're interested in seeing that at NoAgendaMeetups.com. For June 13th, Saturday, upcoming, the Oklahoma City meetup at 2 o'clock. Air Force John is attaining his knighthood there, so please gather in celebration at the Frosted Mug. And that will be Air Force John from the Land of Thunder organizing. Next Wednesday, the 17th, we have City Park Sit-In in Denver, Colorado, the Western Plaza of Denver Museum of Nature and Science in City Park. Look for a blonde couple with a black Labrador Retriever. If that doesn't sound like a Craigslist ad, I don't know what does. This is
that or some sort of a spook meetup.
This is a bring your own chair event. Hey, hey, ho, ho, amygdala swelling has got to go. Taylor and John organizing. Then, not tomorrow, but the Friday after, Oregon Local 33, Willamette meetup, 6 o'clock. That is at Willamette Park, Westland, Oregon. More details at noagendameetup.com. Tim will be organizing that, and we might as well do Friday, June 19th, the Charlotte meetup at 4 o'clock at the Sycamore Brewing. My Carolinians, stay woke, says Bill Cameron, who is organizing that. And let's see, what do I have? June 20, anything else? Yeah, might as well just mention, plug what's coming up on June 20th, because there's a lot of them. We have the Motorcycle Ride Up in Truckee, California. Meet, Ride, Eat. Master Jones organizing that. Meet at the Fast Lane gas station in Truckee by noon. Again, everything, all the details, noagendameetups.com. Also, next Saturday, not this one, next Saturday, Supercast Low Country Meetup. And that is at the Taco Boy downtown. That Dame Jennifer Buchanan organizing that, so that'll be a great one to go to. West Texas Permain Basin Meetup in Midland at 2 o'clock. Also June 20th at Little Woodrow's, Midland, Texas. Sir Michael of Calgary and Vegas organizing for you. Local 406 Re-Up and Damehood celebration at 3 o'clock at Bayern Brewery. That'll be upstairs on the deck if the weather cooperates. I'll be celebrating my damehood in our 4th Montana meetup. That is Ellen Murray who's organizing. And the second ever Central Illinoisian meetup, also June 20th, 3:33 in the afternoon at Riggs Brewery in Urbana, Illinois. Sir Kyle the Fearless, Jedi Knight of the Orange Fleet, is your host. Crikey, this is really, we're opening here. This is big. Flight 004 of the No Agenda, new location. This is Long Beach. Meet at Steelcraft Long Beach. First day of summer, Leo Bravo, your organizer. First Western New York meetup at 4 o'clock in Dansville, New York. That's again on the 20th. Anthony Parker organizing. And finally, as we round it out for the Saturday, June 20th, NA 3 Mile Island Evac Zone meetup. This will be, see, where is it? The location listed is not precise. It's super secret. It's within 3 minutes of the address listed on noagendameetups.com. It will only be disclosed to those who RSVP. So, Sir 737 asked that you do that. And we appreciate all of these organizers. We look forward to meetup reports, keeping within a minute. Audio is fantastic. And remember, noagendameetups.com. It's where you want to get together.
Sometimes you want to go hang out with all the nights and days. You want to be where you won't be triggered or held to blame. You want to be where everybody feels the same.
It's like a party.
It's like a party.
Ooh.
I got a couple of things we're going to end with.
Okie doke.
First of all, there's this funny thing about Biden in the basement, which apparently was a Zoom meeting with Terry McAuliffe, who's running the campaign. They had a big Zoom meeting discussing the strategies for the party. He's running a lot of parts of the Biden campaign, and they think it's just great that Biden's in the basement. And this was played up on the little show with Crystal Ball and Sagar. Worth a listen.
Okay, and I'm just but it's top of the list. How could I miss it?
Absolutely incredible. So Terry McAuliffe, he's a top bundler advisor to the Biden campaign. He's also the former governor of Virginia. Well, he held a Zoom call with some Virginia, I think, Democratic officials. And Fox News basically obtained the audio, the video of it.
I really want to know who leaked this.
Yeah, I would love to know who leaked it. In which he straight up admits they're totally fine and cool with Biden in the basement for as long as he needs to be. Let's take a listen.
People say all the time, we got to get the vice president out of the basement. He's fine in the basement. 2 people see him a day, his 2 body people. That's it. And let Trump keep doing what Trump's doing. It's hard for the vice president to break through. You've got the COVID crisis. He's not a governor, doesn't have a National Guard. He's not the president, doesn't have the briefing room. He needs to come out strategically. And when he says something like he did on race relations 2 days ago, it needs to have a big impact, thoughtful, and that's what we're preferring that he actually do at the time.
Amazing. I mean, they say the quiet part out loud. They're just like, we love having him in the basement.
It's nothing could be better for him.
He doesn't need to meet anyone except for his own bodyguards, and he'll win. And you know what? Seems to be true.
He's totally right. He's totally right. It reminds me of that saying, what is it, like a gaffe is when you accidentally tell the truth?
Yes.
That's exactly what happened here. Of course, he didn't intend for it to come out, but look, it reminds me so much of that Alex Wagner piece, Stay Alive, Joe Biden.
So in the same chat I had with some of the millennial young white girls.
Yes.
They have no problem. This is very interesting. And I'm bringing it to Joe. They have no problem excoriating someone they don't like, specifically politically. So I overheard the conversation about Lindsey Graham. And, Lindsey Graham, apparently someone figured out that he was online using a handle, Lady G, and he was trying to hire a male sex worker. He's trolled.
This is a shocker.
And I'm listening to this, I'm like, you have no problem making fun of this gay guy Yet you're right there with pride and it's horrible and all these, but you don't mind outing him out. And what I got back, well, it was funny, but he's Lindsay in the streets and Lady G in the sheets. I think it's funny, but I'm surprised. It's not about what they say it is. It's not really about, we can't be against gay people, but we can make fun of a Republican gay person. So anyway, then they're going on about these Swiss cheese heads and how Trump is a Swiss cheese head, and what I guess means
what does that mean?
Means because Swiss cheese has holes, so the air goes through the holes in your head.
Yeah.
And I said, well,
that's creative.
If you don't mind me just pointing out, I think Joe Biden may have a lot of Swiss cheese. Now, this was interesting. Oh, absolutely. That guy's the worst. We're still voting for him. It's unbelievable. They don't care, by the way. They don't give a shit. They don't care about politics. They're not actively engaged. They just are there to virtue signal whatever they're told to do. They are underinformed and over-socialized.
I would say this is true. Let's play I got different clips we could play as last clips.
Yeah, let's do one more clip. We got. Well,
what I want to do is this clip, which is the problems at the New York Times, because this is becoming. Yes. This is an example of what we talked about at the beginning of the show.
Noodle boys. Noodle gun. Everything.
The Noodle boys get in there, and once you get in there, this is the problem with people who have hired these certain types of people that are. I think personally, if I was doing JC hires, he's at some software company. He does a lot of the hiring, and he's on the lookout. I'd be on the lookout. You have to be careful you don't hire these people are subversives, and once they get in, they don't care about the old structures. They don't care if you fire them. They'll sue you. I mean, it's unbelievable. But the New York Times is being taken over by these people, and they are. This is only at the beginning. It's only at the beginning of this, and here's the. Kind of a report on this.
Saying what a terrific column you wrote on the Civil War at the New York Times and what is happening to journalism. A brilliant analysis. Your thoughts on
Is this Lou Dobbs? Is that who I'm hearing?
It's on the Lou Dobbs show, yeah. This guy's a columnist for the Post. He wrote this very interesting column.
The effect. Where are we going with a national left-wing media that is decidedly activist, organized around one principle, hate Trump and elect any Democrat, any damn Democrat whatsoever?
Well, thank you, Lou. I would add one more word to describe that media today, too, which is, at least among the management, craven and cowardly. That's 2 words, I guess. But what we saw both at the New York Times and the Philadelphia Inquirer, dumping editors, top editors, because the mob in the newsroom demanded it. Not the mob in the streets, but the mobs in the newsrooms. These are extraordinary developments to see the publishers in both cases give in to this mentality that if you should say anything that we don't want to hear, a headline in the case of the Philadelphia Inquirer or an op-ed by Tom Cotton in the New York Times, we, the mob, we refuse to hear those things, and so you must pay with your head. And it's a form of human sacrifice, what the publishers did in both those cases. And so I think the word will go out to journalists everywhere. You have to now toe the party line, which is, to me, indistinguishable from the Black Lives Movement line, which is frankly remarkable. In a few short years, this fringe group has now come to be the dominant group in the Democratic Party.
It's not just the Democratic Party. Life. They're out there.
It's fascinating to watch, and actually saw the beginnings of this in the 90s, and I could trace some of it because there's other attempts made. It's a Noodle Boy phenomenon. It's part of it. It's so bad now that it's an amazing relief to me to be a podcaster.
Oh, I'm telling you,
self-financed podcaster with people that are contributing to this show and keeping us going straight up. There's no middleman. There's no corporation. There's nothing going on in the middle. Because otherwise, you would not be hearing any of what we talk about on this show. All these clips all the analysis, everything from your material on the movements, the Noodle Boy concept at the base level to Leopold II. None of this is available anywhere because it's just it's unbelievable coincidence that we just happen to be doing the right thing at the right time.
No. It's how the universe works. It's not coincidence. It's how the universe
Well, we got thrown into it, and here we are. And hopefully we keep getting the support we need. But neither one of us, I can't imagine. I was kind of kicked out of PC Magazine by the same types of people, but I didn't care because at that time I'd been so marginalized. But at the same time, they're taking over all kinds of stuff, and you can't. The media is really subject to it, and Hollywood and TV.
Well, everyone but us. And we are proud to do it again for you on Sunday. Please remember us at Dvorak.org/NA. I am coming to you from Opportunity Zone 33 here in Austin, Texas, capital of the Drone Star State, FEMA Region number 6, and all the governmental maps. Big thanks to Conservative Satire, to John Lucas, to UK PMX, and to Tom Starkweather for end of show mixes. Nick the Rat next on NoAgendaStream.com. Until Sunday in the morning, everybody, I'm Adam Curry.
And from northern Silicon Valley, just north of the nexus of it all, I'm John C. Dvorak.
We return on Sunday right here on No Agenda. NoAgenda.NoAgendaShow.com. Until then, as always, adios, mofos! And such.
Right, or you can prove Mbappé was wrong.
Schumer, Pelosi. Schumer and Pelosi. Schumer, Pelosi. Schumer and Pelosi. White savior. They are the ones, white liberals, who promise to take good care of blacks. Schumer, Pelosi. Schumer and Pelosi. Schumer, Pelosi. Schumer and Pelosi. White savior. They are the ones, white liberals, who promise to take good care of blacks. Orange man bad. Orange man bad. Orange man bad. Orange man bad. Trump is bad. They are the ones, white liberals, who promise to take good care of blacks.
I'm Nancy Pelosi.
And I'm Chuck Schumer. And we approve this message.
Take you now to London, where thousands of people are gathering in protest as we go to air. And Europe correspondent Ben Avery has more. Ben, there have just been some clashes with police. What's happening where you are? Goodness me, I mean, this just goes to show.
Unlock the prison.
If you do not have any respiratory symptoms such as fever, cough, or runny nose, you do not need to wear a medical mask. Visitors will be required to wear masks. Masks alone can give you a false feeling of protection, can even be a source of infection when not used correctly. And to maintain social distancing.
Unlock the prison. Unlock the prison.
It's a tall order. You gotta do better.
damn construction around here. Ain't no damn construction around here. You just gonna send a pound of bricks right there. When we start coming to the suburbs, when we come to the government center, then what y'all gonna do? You gotta do better. Ain't no damn construction around here. Ain't no damn construction around here. You just gonna send a pound of bricks right there.
Goodness me, I mean, this just goes to show that.
News! News! On the news today! The show is crazy.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening wherever you are.
Like, oh my goodness, when is it going to end?
To summarize, COVID-19 spreads less efficiently than flu. Transmission does not appear to be driven by people who are not sick.
From the data we have, it still seems to be rare that an asymptomatic person actually transmits onward to a secondary individual.
After a bombshell assertion by the WHO Monday suggesting transmission from patients who do not show symptoms is actually not very common.
What about people who recover? What are they going to be like 6 months from now? We don't know that.
And to truly understand how many people don't have symptoms, we don't actually have that answer yet.
And by no means is this over. If we look at the numbers over the last number of weeks, this pandemic is still evolving.
And to make sure that you wash your hands thoroughly after contact with an animal, and also to make sure that your meat is cooked thoroughly.
The best podcast in the universe.
Mofo.
Dvorak.org/NA.
Enough is enough.